Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined by my two rather emphysema-ridden co-hosts. To my right, it is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello.
And to my left, Bruce, you need to get on that camera real quick. To my left, it is the one, the only, Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
If you asked me how I was doing today, I was going to literally tell you that I can't breathe.
Well,
It's funny you said that.
That's the topic on everyone's mind here in Michigan. Is Detroit is the second worst air quality city in the country today due to the Canadian wildfires.
Oh, that's horseshit.
Yeah, I think it's the Russian bioweapon myself, but
The bioweapon.
yeah, this is Putin's revenge. For
Oh,
the coup.
whatever.
It's coming after us right now.
Whatever. You're all in cahoots. All of them.
That's true.
Anyways, how was your weekend?
Yeah, great.
Why was it great? Let's hear this. This is
Fucking
being
great. I don't know. What do you want? Why are you talking to me? Talk to Solo.
wow. Okay, I see what kind of show this is going to be today. Zolo, how was your weekend?
How's my weekend? It was good. Played pickle both days. Big pickle guy. If anyone likes pickle, let me know. I'll play with you whenever.
Whatever.
That's it.
That was it.
Crazy.
Just good weekend of pickle, Bruce.
Yeah.
Anything?
Nothing special, just a good week.
Bruce played with his pickle.
I want an assist for that one
I'm
for
not
setting you up.
I'm not gonna shoot that down.
Tip softball update. So
God.
we went in last night in third place. Valiant game against the second place team. We were up the entire game. It's 14-13 going into the sixth. We lost 23-14.
What the fuck?
We were up,
How's that?
and then we went.
We were up.
Just it was one bad inning.
We were up for 5 innings.
Yeah, and they're a good team with good athletes. Shout out to I think Adobe. Shout out to Adobe. I went to school with some of those kids, some really good athletes, and they probably thought to themselves, "We can't lose this." And you know what? We're gonna return the favor. Hopefully, we're gonna have our own. We can't lose this
At
moment.
the end of that game.
But even with the loss, we are still firmly in third place and a game up. So we have a game to give. Actually,
Who's
How many
behind
teams
us?
are there?
there's eight teams, and we're in third. What do you mean? Yeah, right.
I said anyway. What? I didn't
Is it
say
Caju
yeah,
Cafe
right.
or
Caju Cafe is right behind us. Yeah, they're 3-5-1. We're 4-4-1. So we got a game to give.
For a second, I thought we were the only team that did like team huddles and talks before and after the game, but
Oh no, everybody does.
not everybody.
Well,
But
listen,
I saw Caju Cafe doing it.
it's about the team.
I know, but they take it seriously, and we still beat them.
Yeah. Well, no, we tied with them.
Caju
Yeah.
Cafe. Who's the blue jersey?
That's Birds of Prey.
Birds of
Oh,
Prey.
They are. They're 3-6.
Caju Cafe we should have beat. And again, I've mentioned this before. I may have even I got to look at the scorecard from that game because I may have had a scoring error where we should have won by 1. But regardless, it shouldn't matter, and we would beat them if we played them
Are you
again.
good right now?
I'm good.
Okay. And yeah, Birds of Prey. They only have 74 runs for.
Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey.
They're-
I think it's
they're-
a church group.
They're
thing.
literally old.
Yeah, they're old bunch of old dudes with Bible verses on their jerseys and shit.
Oh God.
Yeah. We could use a
it's
pitcher
pretty
for
cool,
Thursday
so.
if you wanna step up to the big leagues.
No, thank you.
Anyways,
He's just not feeling it.
the meniscus won't. I don't think the meniscus.
He's thinking
will
about
last
the
that
door he was hanging at.
Hold on,
Too
listen to
busy.
this
I
real
got
quick.
shit to
Listen
do.
to this real quick. Hold on. Oh, in honor of Uncle Sam, I just popped an Aladdin open.
As soon as the
All
Aladdin's
jacked up
cracked,
on
that's how the
Aladdin.
day's going.
More commonly known as Alani New seltzers. They are excellent. I gotta give them a little
All you
credit.
need is a couple hits of Bruce's weed pen and one of the lad, and you'll be blown out for the rest of the day. That's it.
Anyways.
Wired. Absolutely wired.
Oh, yeah. Bruce said that he might not be able to play softball tomorrow night
Why?
because he's doing the most extreme leg workout of his life tomorrow and doesn't know if he'll be
No,
able
that's
to
today.
walk.
But the pain doesn't hit till tomorrow.
Yeah, so he doesn't know if he can play tomorrow because he did leg day today.
Whatever.
Anything to add on
Be
that
able
one?
to turn
Well,
the
all I
engine
got to
on.
say is this. When I was Bruce's age, I would work 14, 15 hours,
And walk to school.
go out, drink every night,
Walk in the tundra.
go out, drink all night long,
and
get
do
up
it all
and
over again in the morning.
not even go to bed, go to work, pass out in my car for about 20 minutes, go in and do it all again
Every day.
every day. It's like, look what the cat dragged in. That's what it is. That's what it was.
It's pretty bad.
And unlike you, I spent the night with multiple females.
He was committing Emrico cream pies every night.
That's it. I was
not
making
Emrico
Emrico cream
cream
pies all day.
Yeah, he's not an Emmerich
not
anymore.
an
You took
Emmerich.
away his Emmerich.
That's
status,
right. I
but-
did take away his Emric. I was making Venditti cream pies.
That sounds way worse, to be honest.
All right, shall we talk some football, gentlemen? Let's
Yeah.
talk some football. Hard Knocks. We talked about this a little bit last week, but we need to check back in. It's looking like the Jets are getting it. I mean, they can force the Jets to do it. We all agreed last week that the Jets would probably be the most entertaining storyline, not necessarily the one that we wanted to see.
There's a lot you could sink your teeth into.
I mean, you've got Rodgers, you've got Sauce Gardner.
Well, the
you've
Aaron
got-
Rodgers thing alone is enough to take over the show because you don't know if he's going to go on the retreat in the closet or, smoke some peyote with Bruce. We don't know.
I'll be honest with you. That's the one that honest to God, I was thinking about this. That's the one that I'd want to see, right? Because Aaron Rodgers, as fucked up as he is, and as much as I really don't care for him or like him,
Gotta respect.
the shit that comes out of his
Yep.
mouth is entertaining.
Always
I mean,
gives good quotes. Always is enlightening. He's a smart guy. He went to Cal. So did Jared Goff. Shout out Jared Goff, by the way, best quarterback in the league. But Aaron Rodgers is a smart guy, so he always has good things to say, and or at least intriguing things to say. I got a weird feeling he's going to try and snake his way out of some of this stuff. But if he gets on camera, and we've never had him in this intimate setting on camera, should be good television. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, he had a quote the other day about how before the ayahuasca, he never knew how to play football or something along those
He
lines.
spoke to some conference.
He
was talking about
Was he high?
psychedelic. No, it was literally a conference about psychedelic drugs, and he was one of the keynote.
That's what I
speakers.
just asked.
There was a
he
panel.
high?
Yeah, I heard
He had to be high.
I heard he anally ingested some acid before he did it. That's just what I heard, Uncle Sam.
That's a
Wow.
tall rumor.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Are there players that you guys want to see on Hard Knocks? Are there players that you're looking forward to seeing? I mean, scratch Aaron Rodgers,
Quentin
take him out of
Williams?
the picture. Quentin Williams, yeah,
If he's there.
if he makes the
If
team,
he's there.
He's the one, by the way. If you guys remember, Quentin Williams is the one that's in his introductory press conference for the Jets. He sneezed, and he goes, "Bless you, thank you." He blessed himself and then thanked himself afterwards. And he's a funny guy to listen talk, but he's a good player too.
I mean, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. One guy that I would be excited to see would be Breece Hall. I mean, to see how the rehab.
I want to see Breece Hall on the field. I don't care about the little frickin' training camp.
Well, I
I
mean,
want to see him tear the field up.
what you see in training camp and what you saw on what you'd see on Hard Knocks would be a good indicator of, especially for fantasy ramifications, if this guy's gonna be ready to go week one. And I mean, obviously, the one guy that everybody would want to see would be Sauce Gardner.
It's from here too.
What about Robert Saleh?
Yeah,
he
I was
interesting to
just
you
gonna
or
say.
no?
I was just gonna get to that. He's a very first things first. He's from here. I call him Amu Bob. That's Uncle Bob in Arabic. He's Lebanese. He's Muslim. He's from here, from Dearborn. He's a pretty Detroit guy, kind of through and through as well. He's got a good 9/11 connection. His brother used to work in the World Trade Centers. And on top of that, not only Robert Saleh, who's very enlightening and a very smart guy, so he's another guy I think is going to snake his way out of it like Aaron Rodgers, but their GM, Joe Douglas, is one of my favorite GMs in the league. I think he's really good at building teams, and he looks like you, Uncle Sam. You got to look at him. And he gives really good quotes, and he's a really smart guy, and I like how he's maneuvered the last couple drafts. So I'm excited to see both of them. They got good administration that's fun to see. And Woody Johnson, I know you hate him, but Woody Johnson...
I don't hate
you don't hate him?
Johnson.
Okay, he's just a rich fucker. But Woody Johnson actually had a big role in the last Hard Knocks, the Rex Ryan Hard Knocks, so I'm
Right.
excited to see what his son brings to the table in this one.
That could be interesting there. See, he's as goofy as his dad is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
lot of potential.
I think there's a ton of potential, and it's not a guarantee yet, but I think this is pretty much what it's lining up to be.
We'll
I mean,
know soon. I mean, it's almost July, and the training camp report dates just showed up, and the Jets are reporting on here. Let's see here. The New York Jets are reporting on 7/19 for the rookie, so that's like literally 3 weeks away. So I'm sure we'll get some action soon on
Be
that
around the
front.
corner here real quick.
Yeah. Sticking in the state of New York, we need to talk about the Bills because they made some front office, not moves, but it came to some extensions this week on both a head coach and their general manager. We all have a lot of thoughts on the Bills. It's very well documented. And, I went out on a limb and said that I think Sean McDermott's very much so on the hot seat this year. Do you think that was a touch premature?
I think it's premature on McDermott, not on Brandon Beane. Brandon Beane's done what he could. I don't know what else he could do. He's the architect of everything. He's the one that brought in Josh Allen. He's the one that traded for Diggs. He's made some great moves. I guess you can extend these guys knowing you could fire them. And maybe we, the three of us, are more harsh on the Bills than anyone else on the planet. A lot of people think they're going to be division winners or even go to the Super Bowl. I think none of us think they could even finish in the top one in their division. That being said, I get it. You want to keep people happy. You want to keep the building in check. But it's the NFL, and it's a revolving door. And one day these guys get extended, and then the next they get fired. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they last going a year from now if we're talking about them in the same light.
Okay, so if the Bills make the playoffs and lose an AFC Championship game, do you think McDermott keeps his job?
Yes, 100%.
Do you think if they
Till they don't make the playoffs, I think he keeps his job.
So even if they make a playoffs with a first-round exit, you think he's safe?
Their first...
That could be tight.
I agree with what you just said, Uncle Sam. Their first blow-it-up moment is going to be to change the roster around a little bit. And we may be having glimmers of toxicity with Diggs right now, so they may have the toxic mindset. But I think the first peg to fall will be the roster if they make the playoffs and then blow it. If I were in Orchard Park, if I were a Bills fan from Buffalo, I think expectations would be really high this year. Not only would they have to win the division, which is a tough division to win, even though they won it last year.
And they need to go deep.
You need to beat one of the Bengals or the Chiefs at least this year, something that you have not done. So
here's the thing, McDermott. I think if things go bad for them and they do a first round exit or they don't make it, I think he loses the locker room, and then you'll see him gone.
I'm going to be honest. If they, hypothetically, let's say they don't win their division.
Right.
And if they get a wild card berth and don't make it to the AFC Championship game, I cannot see a case where you'd keep him. I think, there's a couple situations where I think teams can make the playoffs and move on from head coaches this year. The Bills being one of them, the Chargers being another. This is not year 1 or 2 for the Bills expecting to have a Super Bowl appearance under their belt. We're on year 4 or 5 now.
And then, hold on, there's context on top of that. They were really bad. They were the last team this decade or this millennium to make the playoffs was the Buffalo Bills. So there's context on top of that. It's almost not quite what we have in this town, but the build up for a run has been expected since the 90s, since they went to 4 in a row and lost all 4 of them. So I think there's context on top of that.
The other thing is as of right now, this new contract, he'll be the longest tenured head coach in Bills history.
Well,
as well as
Marv Levy was a lot better than he is, I'll tell you that much.
Beane being the longest tenured general manager in team history. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, if they make a quick exit in the first round or whatever in a wild card game, and I think McDermott will start to lose his locker room. You're seeing glimpses of it right now with the Diggs situation and other situations that's going on there. So if it doesn't, they don't come out like gangbusters and win their division, you're going to see it all kind of come crashing down for them.
Just one, I know we've talked about this ad nauseum over the last 6 weeks, one quick thing to add. I love what both Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have done, and even what Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, has done, even though Diggs has taken digs at him, no pun intended. That being said, I think Josh Allen has been the problem. Love Josh Allen. It's an oxymoron because I love him so much and I love watching him play, and he's 0 to 100 every play. There's just throws that I don't know he can make, And I think that the offense is so tailored around him and he can only do so much. I think he's been the major issue there more than these guys. But these guys, not so much Brandon Beam, but I think Sean McDermott's going to end up taking the fall if this year doesn't go as planned.
Do you
I
think
agree
there's
with that.
any situation ever where, because like you said, you respect Bean as a general manager. Do you think there's a situation where he's starting to realize this and any even percentage chance that Josh Allen gets moved if this season, hypothetically, they don't win the division, hypothetically, they miss the playoffs somehow? Do you think that's even a possibility?
It's tricky. That ownership group tends to be pretty, I don't want to say they're aggressive, but they're aggressive behind the scenes. The Pagulas, Terry and Kim Pagula, they also own the Buffalo Sabres. They're aggressive behind the scenes. They're building a $2 billion stadium, and you probably need Josh Allen and a good version of Josh Allen to pay for that stadium and to fill it out for the next 15 years, 10 years at least. So I don't know. I think that maybe the change comes in the form of you get a new coach and a new coordinator and a new system, and you rebuild around Josh Allen and what he can do, and you play to his strengths. I think that's the likely outcome here. Allen over McDermott. That's my guess.
I think you're probably right. I mean,
He wouldn't be the first coach that got fired because of a quarterback.
well, who else comes to mind for you?
Huh?
Who else
A
comes
bunch
to
of guys.
mind for you?
Ron Rivera.
That's true. Speaking of quarterbacks, we need to discuss Derek Carr a little bit because he raised some eyebrows this week. He came out and discussed just how upset he was with the way things that played out with the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously last year he got benched in favor of Jarrett Stidham. And the Raiders lost those final 2 games. Now that he's a Saint for the next 4 years, signing a $150 million deal this offseason, he came out this week and said that he was pretty disgruntled about the way things ended with the Raiders, the team that drafted him. He was there for 9 years. And when you think of Derek Carr's time there, I mean, let's be real. Was it all world? No, but the Raiders were one of those bubble teams all the time while he was there. They were always in the mix. They were always talked about a little bit. I don't know. I mean,
He never had any kind of stability at the coaching
that's
position.
the thing.
And that's huge.
Here, if you want to break it down like this, I don't think Derek Carr's a bad player, but when you had John Gruden there and they were making
That
moves
was his best
and they
year.
were looking good, there was high expectations for that team.
That was his best year as a pro.
And then-
when Gruden was there.
Textbook situation happens. Gruden's gone. There's too much instability. They probably hired the wrong guy as a head coach for him, and the whole thing kind of blew up for him. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's more of a bandage than anything else,
You could put lipstick on a pig.
but it's still going to be the pig. So I don't think Derek Carr was the issue there. So I think it makes sense that he was upset about it. I don't know how you feel about it, Zolo, but
He needs to just forget about it and move fucking on.
Derek
dude.
Carr, for me, reminds me of Kirk Cousins,
His brother.
but with just
Washington?
awful luck. Washington Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think he's a very serviceable quarterback in the league. Top 15 when he's on his A game. You can only do so much with him. You could probably win with him, though. He didn't really have an asset to throw to, a real asset to throw to until Devontae
So Adams
Adams.
came there.
I'm not really in. I wonder how it would have played out with John Gruden. I'm not really into Josh McDaniels. I know you are. I personally think Jimmy Garoppolo is. What's worse than a Band-Aid? He's the piece of toilet paper you throw on your face after you cut yourself shaving.
Jimmy Garoppolo's the hottest guy in the NFL.
That for such a storied franchise and a franchise that kind of cracks it. Well, not this millennium. They haven't really done it this millennium. And I want to hear your thoughts on the Raiders, Uncle Sam. But for such a storied franchise, they just don't have it figured out. Mark Davis sucks. We say that every
He
week.
keeps hiring the wrong fucking
people. Mike Mayock was the wrong person. Gruden had a shot. I still love John Gruden. I
Mayock
thought
and
they
Gruden
fought.
were together.
Yeah, I thought
That
that's
was
a
the
bad
thing.
marriage though.
And I don't think that was a bad marriage because I think Mayock did everything that Gruden wanted.
No, I agree.
I think that was the thing. Listen, nobody evaluates talent better than Mike Mayock. Nobody.
Hold on, for TV.
All those years I watched him doing the combine. Nobody, I think, has more knowledge and knows what to look for in players more than he does. Him and Daniel Jeremiah, they're the top two that
You're just an NFL Network guy.
They're the top two that I've ever seen. They really are. I mean, unless you want to take Bucky Brooks, I mean.
I don't know the context on the they made my wife cry. I dug very hard for it. It was by the way, this all comes from an interview that he had with the Fresno Bee. I think he went to school at Fresno State.
Okay.
And that's where the interview was, where he kind of laid into the Raiders. And again, I don't know the context, but he said, once they made my wife cry, it was over.
It was on.
Whatever that meant.
I don't blame him.
Did she cry because he got benched? Well, yeah, of course your wife's going to cry if you get benched, but that's on you.
I
That's
don't
not
even
on
think it
your
was
wife.
that. The point of it is, I think the way they did him, especially when they at that point of the benching, I think it was prior to that. When
it's
he
fair.
come out on camera and was pleading to get help, to get help when the coaching staff was standing there with their thumb in their ass. That was the issue, I think, and I think that's what destroyed their relationship. And Josh McDaniels is little. I don't want to really lose my mind here, but he should have stood up for Carr and stood behind Carr. Instead, he threw Carr under the bus and made him the fall guy. And that's fine. I mean, if you don't want him, if he's not your guy, be a man and fucking tell him.
And that chess match happens with almost every team, half the teams, every year. It's cyclical. It's a cyclical. It even happened with Brady Belichick a couple years ago. That chess match between coach and quarterback and who to blame, and then someone goes. The quarterback goes or the coach goes. I think in regards to Jimmy G, it's bizarre. I don't think Josh McDaniels took that job like Bob Quinn took the Lions job and said, "Oh, I'm going to fire Jim Caldwell after a year or two and bring in this asshole Patricia." I don't think Josh McDaniels took the job thinking he was getting Jimmy Garoppolo, because those aren't guys you build around. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is a guy you build around. It's just a guy that might help because he knows the system a little better.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It was a typical chess match. You threw Carr under the bus. Carr's saying something about it now. He seems like one of the more
Well, he
loyal.
didn't say anything at first.
No,
he just wanted it to
quiet.
go away.
He let it
And
play out.
That was the professional way of handling it.
He let it play out. He's
So I
saying
was
something
good
now.
with that part.
He's saying something now. I think it's not a coincidence that he's saying something now. He wanted to be heard. And I think that Carr is one of the more loyal guys. He reminds me of Stafford in terms of his loyalty. Like, just a cool guy.
Yeah.
The teammates love him. Maybe not that great, but he gives you all his heart. He's got the Bible verses all over.
Hopefully he ain't listening to his wife like Matt Stafford
Of
does.
course.
But anyway,
Do you have the cymbals, the drum for that? I think that Carr made it as far as he did because his teammates were so loyal to him, and he finally ran into a coach that wasn't. And who knows? The Carr experiment could work really good for the Saints. He's in a good system with good personnel, with people to throw to. He's got a running game, and he might even have a little bit of a defense in a really down division. So who knows? Derek Carr could actually do some damage this year if he's good.
I think so too.
He's old. He's had a knack for having games where he makes really big plays and really bad plays. So we'll find out how good Derek Carr is this year. That's my opinion.
I think when you're sitting there and you're supposedly the face of the franchise, and you get to a point where everybody in the franchise is giving up on you, I think that's a very hard thing to swallow and a very hard thing to handle. And I thought he actually handled it pretty well.
Yeah.
Because I would have lost my fucking mind and punched Josh McDaniels in the mouth and then fucking slapped the hair off of fucking stupid ass Mark Davis.
Slap the toupee.
God damn, is he a fucking weirdo? Excuse my French.
Excuse me.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's a big dude. Derek Carr ain't no small guy. Should have slapped the shit out of both of them.
I
fucking
think, honestly,
morons.
out of everything that could have happened with Derek Carr, like, if you're real about it, everything that could have happened with Derek Carr, I feel like he did end up in the perfect spot. Like, Like Zolo said, New Orleans. He's got good personality.
Yeah, but I think he's a little fucking heartbroken. If he's still talking about it now, and here we are, how many months
That's
later?
Derek Carr.
I think it's still affecting him.
Derek Carr with a chip on his shoulder, though.
That's a good thing, not a
That's
bad
a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing.
Enough to
they
piss
play
people
each
off,
other
just
for
like
the
Aaron
Raiders
Rodgers
and,
in New York.
I'll
Enough to
look.
piss
Go ahead,
you off.
gotta-
I noticed something here, and it's kind of off script for what we were talking about, but Zolo brought it up real briefly before we started today. And I wanted to talk about this. The training camp dates and locations have come out, right? The majority of team veterans report on July 25th. There's 2 outliers there. And then rookies report anytime between it looks like the 18th and the 25th. But there's,
Like a week before the vets.
yeah, there's
It's always been like that.
Well, there's one oddity in here with the
Okay.
locations, right? So Arizona, they have training camp at their stadium in Glendale. Baltimore at a performance center in Maryland, right? Buffalo, Rochester, New York. The Lions, Allen Park. The Patriots in Foxborough, right? For the most part, every single team has training camp, at least in their home state, if not at their home stadium.
They're within 50 to 100 miles.
Yes, at the most, right? Like the Bears are in Lake Forest. The Dallas Cowboys,
Oxnard.
Oxnard, California.
Yeah.
Do you know the history? I'm going to ask you because you're the biggest Cowboys hater and you've been around the block in the 90s. What's the historical context of the Cowboys in Oxnard? Because I know they've been going
I have
there.
no idea. I'm going to be
It's-
totally honest with you.
It's
I don't
been
know.
going on for years.
it's been
Like,
going-
2 of their hard knocks were in Oxnard.
As long as I can remember, they've always practiced at Oxnard.
So I have a quote from Jerry Jones. You get a lot more reps and a lot better prep in California than you do in Texas. This is a quote from 2016.
He's just trying to crush that West Coast Valley pussy is all he's trying to do.
Oh, wow.
That's why Tom Landry and the Cowboys came out here 27 years ago. It's just a better place to get your team ready to play.
I don't get it. They
I
haven't won a
don't
Super
get it.
Bowl.
All the players-
When
There's
was their
no
last Super Bowl?
state,
96?
I think, into football as much as Texas.
Well, I agree with Chuck.
You get that Texas heat. They,
Yeah.
First,
I
also,
think that's what they're trying to do
They
is
all
avoid
live
the
in
Texas
Cali.
heat.
they have the
Yeah.
best training facility in the league. They built a beautiful $1 billion complex in Frisco, Texas. That's a stadium in itself. It's state of the art. People freak out when they see it. It has crazy high school football games. They built a development around it. Their offices are there in Frisco. And you built this facility. You can have training camp in front of your fans. You have a 10,000 seat stadium
Why
in
wouldn't
Frisco, and you could do it there.
It doesn't make any
I
sense
know
to
they
me.
still show up to Oxnard, but I've never understood it. And that's a bullshit quote. Tom Landry and them came out 27 years ago. Well, I'm pretty sure you haven't won a Super Bowl in over 27 years. So eat shit. Like, you're not better than everyone by practicing in California. The only thing I could think of is they like that LA area because there was no team there during that time period. That makes sense. I think the Rams were there maybe at the beginning and then left. That's the only thing I could think of. And they love the broadness of their fan base. And it is, if you show up to Ford Field when they're playing the Cowboys, there's a ton of Cowboys fans there. They're all from fucking Detroit. They all have 313 area codes on their phone. I don't understand it. Never have. Don't think it makes them a better team because they have not won shit in that era.
I mean, if you look at their setup out there, they rent out this entire Marriott Residence Inn, okay? That because they need the ballrooms that are meeting rooms, the dining hall. They need the whole thing, so they rent it out. They said this is at least $10 million operation that they set up. All of the tents and everything on the field is all tents. It's set up out there. It's all makeshift. Like Zolo said, they probably have the most advanced training facility in the league. I just don't understand why you would do this. I mean, I guess
Maybe they're trying to avoid that Texas heat. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, I mean,
Texas heat makes you better.
that's what I would think too.
I don't
Wouldn't
know.
you want those guys?
I don't know.
I mean, you got to figure Arizona's practicing outside in Glendale. It's probably 110 degrees there every day. You know, it can't be hotter in Dallas than it is.
Yeah, but Arizona has a retractable state. They have the air. And
Yeah, but their training facility's outside. Don't you remember when we were watching them practice last year on Hard Knocks? They were outside most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Typical that the Cowboys.
It's real simple. After Jimmy Johnson left, he cursed him. He cursed Jerry
extends
Jones.
curse.
It's called the Jimmy Johnson
Extends curse.
extended curse.
They have an opening ceremony for training camp there
Yeah,
too.
they call it the West Coast Tour.
Whatever.
That one's just bizarre to me because literally there's not one other team.
Well,
that
maybe it's like
deviates
Mike
that.
said. Maybe that's where Jerry Jones wants to hang his hat, and he don't want to go to Texas. So
Oh God, you think they got some decent massage?
it's all right.
parlors down
Hey,
there?
listen,
sure
they got
do.
Mike McCarthy. That's all I'm going to
Celery
say.
country.
That's all I'm going to say.
Imagine
got Mike
him.
McCarthy. He's not going to fit in any of the clubs in Oxnard. Forget about it.
Not
It's
fit
not
in,
gonna happen.
and he's not talking about metaphorically not fitting in. He means he's so fat he's not going to get through the door,
Get
and
it,
he's not going to
That
fit
too.
Zolo, do you have a little Dalvin Cook update for us? Because we haven't heard anything since last week, really, outside of the fact that Miami is still the number one spot.
I hate that we have to beat the dead horse on Dalvin Cook and Hopkins every week, but they're two of the most exciting players at their position, and they're going to sign somewhere and play this year. We seem to be we're right about Dalvin Cook all along. It sounds like I think we all guessed Miami, or at least you and I guessed Miami.
We did.
Sounds like it's going to be Miami. Miami has offered. Dalvin Cook has personally said that it is a perfect fit, and he contacted them. But he's going to take his time to weigh all of his options. But this seems like Miami. It seemed like it from the start. He's from there. Went to Florida State. He could be an asset in that offense. I would love to see what McDaniels does with him. And I'm excited for it. And I'm already, as you guys know, very high on the Dolphins. And that would just make me that would put pressure on them through the roof to see what he could do there. So I think it's going to end up being Miami, and we'll probably know in the next 2 or 3 weeks here.
According to the Twitterverse, supposedly the Jets are making him an offer tomorrow.
Jets are making him an offer too. That'd be another great spot for him, by the way. The 3 main spots are in that division: Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. And who knows? That arms race in the AFC East is exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun watching those 3. And then the
think
Patriots.
there's an issue with his health?
I think there could be. A lot of guys perform better
Yeah.
post ACL. Maybe he's due for something else. And I know he hasn't strung together a full season, but it's hard in the league this year. That's what makes Miami good, is because they already have a good running back core.
True.
And that could take a lot of the load off of him. But he had Alexander Madison in Minnesota that took the load off for him. So to answer your question, maybe I would err on the side of no right now. But something will happen, and he'll get banged up mid-year. Curious to see where that ends up, though.
Yeah, but the nice thing about all the teams that we said, I mean, realistically, outside of the Bills, everybody, Miami and the Jets, both, I mean, they don't really, Dalvin Cook's a cherry on top piece. It's not really, he's not going to be the, 30 carry bell cow for either of those teams. So
No.
I do like the idea of him in one of those 2 spots. Another running back we got to talk about who is supposedly going to hold out is Josh Jacobs. You think he wants to be the highest paid running back in football?
Yeah, and at his
Should be.
age, you go ahead.
I think he
okay.
should be.
All around bell cow running backs, there's a few that come to mind. There's maybe 3 of them. 4 if you want to include the damage that Bijan Robinson's going to throw in this year. I think it's Josh Jacobs. I think when healthy, Jonathan Taylor. And then in terms of bell cows, number 3, honestly, it's just those 2. No,
I think Derrick Henry.
There's more of a hybrid.
Derrick Henry.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah, he's
still a bell
He's
cow.
on the edge of not being. He's a bell
Correct.
cow at the moment.
He's
I think
he's
he's at the tail
regressed.
end. Josh Jacobs, going into fantasy season last year, he was taking a lot of shit, and people don't draft him. It's a bad offense. And he fucked shit up all year last year. He was arguably the most consistent running back in football last year. Right? Am I
Yes,
wrong about
I
that?
agree.
You're right.
And he bet on himself. If I remember correctly, they didn't pick
Yeah.
up his option. They didn't pick up
Correct.
his option. Bet on himself, and it's going to pay off. So I think if he wants to, he's at the age where he'll be getting paid for his production now, based on his production in the past, which is how Saquon's extension's probably going. So I think good things are in Josh Jacobs' future.
I mean, this is the way you've got to look at this. Josh Jacobs just turned 25. Derrick Henry.
My God.
Derrick Henry will be 30 by the end of this season.
And Derrick Henry will be in the top. And I'll tell you this right now: if he does not get hurt, he will be in the top 5 in rushing.
Yeah, but see, there's the key. There's
If he doesn't get hurt.
I think you want me to be honest with you. I think this year for me, I'm not nearly as high on Derrick Henry because I think he's going to be 30. Le'Veon Bell, we didn't see him make it to 30. Todd Gurley, we didn't see him make it to 30.
Todd Gurley came out of college with a bad knee.
Yes, but we're
and has
talking
been
about
nursing
guys.
it the whole time.
We're talking about guys who were at Derrick Henry level of production, and it wasn't a gradual come down. It was you fell off the side of the mountain. And at some point, unfortunately, I think we're going to see that.
Derrick Henry's a beast. He's not going to fall off.
Different machine.
I get it.
He's not falling
I know.
off the cliff yet.
I know, but nobody is immortal in this league. Nobody. At some point,
You know
he's gonna
what?
have to
You think
fall
that
off.
you got that guy written off, and he'll have 10 carries
not
for
writing him
25 yards, and then in the fourth quarter, he'll have 7 carries for 125 yards.
I'm not writing him off, but at some point
Well, yeah.
within the next 2 years, he's going to hit that
Correct.
curve. I see it coming. Josh Jacobs, at 25, I still think Josh Jacobs' best football could be
Well,
within
that's
these next
what he's
3
saying.
years.
He's-
Yeah.
If
He's
there's
a
a
bell
good
cow.
situation for him, I would want to get the hell out of Vegas.
Oh, same.
If there's a good situation for him, again, this is a rare example of, and it happens all the time in sports. It happens in hockey the most, but guys get paid for their production of the past, and then they get these bad contracts in their 30s where they're underperforming because they're old. And running backs, off the rip, they should be one of the highest paid positions because their position ends at 30, and they get the shit kicked out of them. This is a rare example at his age where he's going to get comped for the work that's in front of him. He's going
I
to
think
get.
would be a good fit for Jacobs
That's a good question.
outside
Dallas,
of Vegas.
Dallas.
What would be the best fit for
the
him?
Dallas Cowboys?
Dallas,
It's hard for me to disagree with Dallas. I honest to God,
the Rams?
I don't like him with the Rams. I don't. I think that Denver could be another
Oh, that's
Yeah,
a good
Denver
one.
would-
another.
That's a
decent
good. That's
fit
a
for
really
them.
good one.
And honestly, I mean,
Carolina.
I don't know how you just said that because that's what I was going to say is Carolina. But the problem is with I like his fit in Carolina's offense, but
Right.
Carolina's not at the point where one, they're going to go get him. They just paid Miles Sanders a decent amount of money. I don't think they're going to do that.
What about Detroit?
No, I wouldn't want.
You don't
Different
think he'd
system.
like to come here, run behind this offensive line?
He doesn't catch passes, or he doesn't consistently catch passes. He's between the tackles. I'm gonna get the fuck downfield and run you over.
That's what I like.
Yeah, well, yeah, it reminds me of the old days.
That's
of course.
who I would rather have. I'd rather have a guy like that than a guy that's going to
I mean,
go
you have to
swing
figure,
outside every other play.
He wants to be the highest or one of the 2 highest paid guys. So I mean, you're talking $15-16 million a year. So your company is Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey.
The potential Saquon
The
contract.
potential, correct. Saquon's going to be in that mix too. So
I seen a little.
I
video
think-
of
I
him.
think
I seen a little
Jacobs-
video of him working out.
Through
Saquon.
Saquon.
Oh my god.
He's
dude.
always been a beast. His quads are the
fucking
size of my
monster,
body, and I'm a big boy.
you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
Josh Jacobs got to go to a situation where he's going to be the piece like the 49ers did with McCaffrey.
Correct.
He's the piece that's going to put them over the top. So as much as I like the way he fits in Denver, I don't really see that happen.
Buffalo.
Oh,
Buffalo?
I got another good one that I hate that I don't even want to say, but it's a good one.
Buffalo'd be cute, but realistically,
The Chicago Bears.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one.
Somewhere where they could just rely on him, and you could set the edge, and where
go.
you run him every time, and then you set up for a play action. The only way you're
That
beating
would be
him
the
is if you
best thing
set
that
the
could
edge,
ever
is if
happen
you
to
keep him.
Justin Fields.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bills one is a good one because they have a gaping hole there right now. I mean,
Yeah.
their number one running back is fucking Naheem Hines at the moment.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So that would be a good one. But again, I don't think Buffalo is in a cap situation where because last year when things were getting tough on McCaffrey, everybody thought, oh, Buffalo. Buffalo's not in the position to pay a running back 15, 16, or $17 million a year.
Yeah.
They're not.
You know who is?
Who?
The Baltimore Ravens. I would love to see him in Baltimore.
Oh, that's another good one. Anywhere where there's a running quarterback
Yeah.
Oh my God.
would throw a
Imagine
huge
him in
wrench into
Baltimore.
everything if you add Josh Jacobs.
Oh my God.
I think so. He's talking about holding out into week 1. I totally see that happening. There's nothing to play for in Vegas this year, in my opinion. Another team that's an early entrant in the Caleb Williams lottery. We're gonna put their name in the hat.
Right.
I think that'd be a great spot. Baltimore. There's a few good spots, and maybe he holds out long enough, gets traded to a team just in the middle of the year, so the Raiders can get an asset, gets traded to a team and plays for a winning team, and then goes to get his contract this offseason. This is a guy I could see moved in some way for a couple seconds or a couple thirds.
Well, yeah, because
the middle
I
of the
don't
year.
think they're going to just let him sit out
No.
and basically walk at the end of the year. I just don't see him let.
He's
letting
got
him-
2 reasons to hold the Raiders hostage. Number 1, he deserves the money. Number 2, they're not a good team. So pay me. You
Right.
could afford me. Pay me.
And if not, let me go. I'm not getting,
Yeah.
it's time to start.
I mean, outside him, like you said, outside him, Nick Chubb, big Nick Chubb
Not
guy. I love
even.
Chubb.
I wouldn't even put him in the based on production last year, because Chubb is in the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
But based on production last year, if we're going by like Josh Jacobs, I think played in every game if I remember correctly. If not, he only missed 1 or 2.
He missed 1 game.
Nick Chubb had a bad. He got banged up a little bit last year, but he still had very good numbers. He's still the bell cow, and he's splitting carries. Nick Chubb was splitting carries too.
I think Nick Chubb is the best of that second tier,
Correct.
and Josh Jacobs is on the middle to back end of that top tier. And I mean, when I'm saying tiers, I'm talking about like 3 or 4 guys, right? I mean, your top tier is pretty much what? McCaffrey, Henry, Jacobs.
Don't even put McCaffrey. I think that
McCaffrey
McCaffrey and
in one of
Saquon
his
are
own-
on their own because
their
of
own
what
category.
they do for their teams. That's what they're hoping. The Lions are hoping Jahmyr Gibbs does. But in terms of pure runners, downfield runners, running backs that are going to get 30 to 40 carries a game, yeah, it's Derrick Henry, it's Jacobs,
Henry, Jacobs, and I mean
Jonathan Taylor, maybe.
Taylor and Eckler.
Yeah.
Even
Eckler's
Taylor's
just
in that
a
other
beast,
class,
dude.
in my opinion. Taylor's more
Taylor's
of
in the
not, yeah.
I don't think Eckler's as good a runner as those other
Yeah,
guys
but
are.
he catches passes, which
He's
makes
just-
him a
He's so
deadly
hard
player.
to figure out what he's doing. It's just he's a monster when it comes to numbers.
If I'm talking favorites, though, I mean, Josh Jacobs is. What Josh Jacobs does is so dynamic. I love watching him play football. I really hope he does end up in a good situation because do you think there's you always say usually when shit like this happens it gets figured out, right? Do you think it happens with Josh Jacobs? Do you think he's in Vegas?
I mean, we knew it with Dalvin Cook that it wasn't going to get figured out, and it didn't. I think in this instance, just because of the way things stand, just because of where things stand with everybody in Vegas, I think that there's a chance. I think that there's a chance that they move on from him in a trade because it could make sense for them. And not to mention, what's his name? Josh McDaniels didn't draft Jacobs. It's not one of his guys. The Patriots love Bama people. That being said, he didn't draft him, so he's probably going to be okay with moving on from him. But who knows? I think this one does not get resolved. Gun in my head, I think this is a mid-season trade. If he does what he says, and he says he's holding out into week
Right.
one,
If he holds
if he starts
out
holding out into the season,
into like week 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
he's gone. He's gone by the trade deadline.
because they got a couple weeks to figure this out.
Correct.
we might as well check in on him before we move on. DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, is this thing a lock? Is he going to end up as a Patriot? I don't know what he's waiting for. I don't know what's going on. Bill Belichick said how much he loved him, cancels practice for him, says that he is the best value wide receiver on the market right now. I just don't understand why it's not done. But then you also hear that the Panthers are coming in with a big offer and need to act fast to keep him out of a Patriots uniform.
I think the Patriots were my dark horse. Or, I'm sorry, were your dark horse when we did it a couple weeks ago, and I think the Panthers were mine, if I remember correctly. I think both of those are great fits for him. It doesn't check off the win now column, but you instantly, elevate what I think is an underrated. I think we all think the Panthers receiving core is underrated. You instantly elevate that, and that's a great asset for Bryce Young to have. It's like Stafford having Calvin Johnson, a guy that you could just chuck the ball to early in your career. I would love to see that happen, and I think that furthers the case as the Panthers as the dark horse in the NFC South if it happens. In terms of the Browns, I don't think it moves the needle in that division, but I'd love to watch him compete with Deshaun Watson again. They have the rapport.
Yeah.
I know you would. Did you have the Browns as your dark horse when we did that? I don't remember.
did.
That'd be funny if one of our 3 dark horses ends up getting him.
Well,
I would just be surprised if they do sign him again. I for some reason, I don't know. At this point, they're kind of in limbo.
Well, I just saw this article here that today actually, the numbers, the odds changed a little bit, and it's right now, as it stands, it's New England 1, Carolina 2, Tennessee 3, Kansas City back in because I guess they're working to restructure Chris Jones's deal to possibly bring in Hopkins, and then Detroit 5.
Well, if they're able to land
The Detroit's
Hopkins,
at 5.
Kansas City's able to land Hopkins, they're going to be right there in the end again.
I would hate it if that happened.
We've talked about Hopkins ending up here ad nauseum, and down the road, within the next month, I want to go over like a Lions roster prediction. Spend a lot of time talking about that. One of the reasons why I no longer think he's going to end up here is because they kind of have a logjam at receiver. It'd be different if they didn't sign Marvin Jones. We've talked about that, but I know that they loved what they saw from Antoine Green in camp, and they're not cutting Khalif Raymond. That's 2. They get to do something with Jameson Williams' contract while he's suspended. That's 3. Then you still have Josh Reynolds, and you still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. And there's too much of a logjam here for the Lions. I don't see it happening unless there's an injury and he hasn't signed by the time of the injury. He's not coming here. That's my opinion. They like what they have. I think they love their receiving core. But we also have to start looking at that factor with wherever Hopkins goes, is what do they have at depth at wide receiver? Because it's not just that we're thinking the first 2 guys. Like when it comes to Carolina, we're thinking, well, they got DJ Chark and they got the guy from the Vikings, Adam Thielen. They got those 2 guys. So where does he fit in? But there's depth issues because a lot of these teams like their depth at wide receiver and their continuity that they've had. So there's certain situations that are going to make more sense than
Hopkins
others.
is getting older. He's not a young guy.
No, he's a guy that's going to get paid. We just talked about it with the running backs. He's a guy that's going to get paid for what he's done in the past. I still think he's got a lot to offer over the next 5 years. I said it before when we first did Hopkins talk way back when, a month ago. I would love to see him end up in Carolina. That's still I'm switching. I'm staying there, not switching, but I'm going from dark horse and elevating them to I think that's where he ends up. He's from there. He's from not far from there.
Shannon Sharp said that DeAndre Hopkins ending up in Detroit would be quote unquote magical.
Was that recent?
That was recent. This article's from the 26th, so
Okay.
2 days ago.
I just don't know how interested they are in him.
I think I agree. I think they said
Did he come here for a
He
visit?
doesn't fit.
No.
He doesn't fit in. There's just too much depth. Something would have to happen. And I love Marvin Jones. He's one of my favorite players that they've had. Very underrated. Not one of my favorite, but one of the most underrated Lions over the last decade. When they signed him, that effectively eliminated Hopkins, but we didn't know at the time. Maybe they tried to make a trade for Hopkins and couldn't get him. Maybe they didn't know anything.
Sure, Jones came a lot cheaper than Hopkins would.
Jones came cheaper and does the same stuff. He's an inch smaller, I think.
Loves being here.
Yeah, loves being here. If there's an injury between now and then, and if Hopkins drags it out to the beginning of training camp, and who knows, maybe he waits till September to sign so he doesn't have to go to training camp. If something happens between now and then, maybe I could see the Lions making a move. If I'm one of these other teams, I'm making my best offer. Patriots, I wouldn't want to go there. But if I'm Carolina or Cleveland, I'm making my best offer for him. Those are two, not as much Cleveland as Carolina, but those are two like one piece away receiving cores. And he can make a major difference for both of those two teams.
I'd like to see him and Amari Cooper playing next week.
Could be awesome.
Be honest with you.
Could be awesome.
Hey, how many times did Uncle Sam say Amari Cooper on on air last
We
season.
starting that shit again?
By about 450. Mari Cooper. Every single week, you'll learn this quick when we start doing fantasy
It's my
talk.
dark horse.
Every single week, wide receiver 1 this week, Amari Cooper.
Every week.
Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback. Amari Cooper.
Actually,
due for a
numbers
big
were
week.
good.
One week.
Speaking of wide receivers, CD Lamb. So supposedly he is working on finalizing an extension today. That's going to pay him $30 million a year.
He's about to be a rich man.
That would that make him the highest paid? I'm
Yeah,
not
I read
exactly
25 to 30 million. 25 puts him right at the fringe of top 5, which I think is Diggs. So if it's on the 30 end, it's highest paid or close to highest paid, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Good
so,
for a guy who's only been in the
Someone
league
gets
for a
31.
handful of
Devontae
years.
Adams might get 31.
Tyreek Hill's 30, Adams is 28 per year average. So
It puts him right there.
at 25 million, he'd be tied with AJ Brown, and under Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, and Tyreek Hill. That's a lot of money. That would be more
That's
than
a lot of money for a guy who's only been in the league for 3 years.
That's more than Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf.
Stop.
Deebo
Go
Samuel.
slow.
Okay,
Start at the top.
Stephon Diggs,
No.
DK Metcalf.
Maybe.
Debo.
I give the edge to Metcalf because he does things that CeeDee
Just a
Lamb will
big
never be
body
able to
guy,
do. Yeah.
too.
Debo.
Same drill. Edge to Debo because he does things that he can't do.
This one kind of surprised me. Terry McLaurin.
I love Terry McLaurin.
I do
One of the
too.
most underrated players
I
in
do
the
too.
league.
I'm a big
Shouldn't be in the
McLaurin
top 5 though.
DJ Moore.
But I'm taking CeeDee Lamb over Terry McLaurin. DJ Moore, yeah, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb over DJ
Keenan
Moore.
Allen.
At this point,
Right now, yeah.
I would take him.
Mike Williams.
Yes.
Amari Cooper.
That's a close one.
So I mean, yeah, that's pretty much his spot.
I get Hopkins isn't on there too.
You got to
either.
understand something too.
Hopkins-
When he
Hopkins'
came into the
contract
league,
is 27.5 or something like that, and
Right.
he's still getting paid.
Hopkins would be
this kid's
sandwiched
had
in
good
between
numbers
Adams
for a
and Kupp.
reason. He's played opposite of some pretty good receivers. Amari Cooper being
Do you
one of them.
see CeeDee Lamb carrying the Cowboys pass game? Do you see that?
No, I don't.
Neither do I.
Because you want me to be honest, if you watched the
Couldn't do
Cowboys,
it last year.
if you watched the Cowboys offense work last year,
Do you know who their quarterback is?
it didn't. It's odd, but I feel like Dalton Schultz made a bigger impact on the offense than CeeDee.
You
Lamb
heard his
did.
name more.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb was big plays when they were already up. That
Right.
was a lot of what CeeDee Lamb was. He hasn't had he's got the highlight reel plays, but he hasn't had that game breaker moment
Correct.
that Diggs has had, that Hopkins has had, that even Odell has had. You know, he hasn't
Because,
had that moment.
You know, it's always when you look at them and they need a big play. It seemed like to me Michael Gallup was making plays.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean, that's what it seemed like to me.
If
don't-
I think about the Cowboys offense for the last year or two, there's 3 names that come to mind. Gallup, Pollard, Schultz,
Cooper
Yeah.
Rush.
and Cooper.
Honestly, you could put Amari Cooper in that conversation from a couple of years ago too.
correct.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. When he was drafted, he played opposite Amari Cooper. He was learning how to be a receiver from him. So I think it's done well. He's
But-
done well. He's got money now.
But I guess we will see
Yeah.
because by the end of the day today, he could be tied for the highest paid player in football. So we will keep an eye
It's
on
okay because his coach is Mike McCarthy. So
Dak
see
Prescott.
what happens. A lot of good that's going to do him.
Speaking of all these wide receivers, Pro Football Focus came out with an article, and I know we're probably a week late on this, but we ran out of time last week, and we need to discuss this because I think this is going to be very, very good conversation here. Pro Football Focus came out with wide receiver corp rankings, and they ranked all 32 teams from 32 up to 1. And there were some really big shockers on here.
They include tight ends, by the way, in this list.
So it's pass catchers.
It's pass catchers in general.
Okay. So pass catching corps, we need to discuss this because I think that there's a lot of surprises on here. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up to the top, and you guys tell me what you think because so far, I was kind of perplexed with this. 32.
Hold on. In the essence of staying away from confusion, we'll sort them into 3 tiers, like a top tier core, a mid tier core, and a low tier core. Because we could debate the numbers in our head where they have
Correct.
these guys all day. So we'll just say if we agree on if they're a bottom tier core, essentially.
Yeah, if they're
Bottom 20, mid 20, or mid 10.
so we have
know what I'm saying?
petrified dog shit at the bottom.
Yeah.
Average and then good. Okay, so 32
Well-
is the Houston Texans.
Oh yeah, I don't know who's there.
Well, hold on, they got Robert Woods,
Bob
Okay.
Trees.
Noah Brown,
Okay.
Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, and John Mechie.
John
Outside Dalton Schultz, they're a shit show. Okay?
Mechie has a lot of potential.
Yeah, he does. Because
And-
we haven't seen a play yet.
And Nico Collins he missed the first year. He could take a big step. Not a wide receiver 1,
Correct.
but a guy you could build around and a guy that Stroud could throw to eventually.
I think the Schultz thing is going to be very helpful to him.
I'm going to be honest with you. When I look at, if I close my eyes and I don't look at them in Houston Texans uniforms, and I think about this, and I think about how they could progress, they're missing one thing. And that's a
DeAndre
number one.
Hopkins.
Correct. They're missing a number 1.
Right.
Other than that, you know how I feel about Robert Woods and always have.
Yeah.
Robert
Yeah.
Woods to me is
Consistent when healthy.
perennial number 2 when he's healthy.
And he could look pretty good under Stroud as opposed to under
yeah.
Ryan Tannehill.
He's really going to help Stroud big
for
time.
me, I can't say that this is
They're not the worst
full
receiving
on.
core.
No.
They're not the worst.
I don't think
They're
so.
in that lower tier. They're better than at least 4 or 5 teams that are in front of them on this list.
All right.
Agree.
Who else we
I don't
got? Who do
think-
you think is the worst? The worst receiving.
We'll get there, but if you want me to tell you who I think my worst is right
Who do
now,
you think's the bottom of the league?
New England.
Yeah, and they're in front of them. There's 2 teams that are in front of them: New England and then the Titans, who are at 30. I think both of them are
Are worse.
below.
For me, New
New,
England.
New England has decent tight ends.
Get the fuck out of here.
Which get factored in.
Get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
Gesicki, I'll give Uncle Sam a little credit. Gesicki had his best year last year, and he's in New England now.
Thank you.
And Hunter Henry just didn't do shit there.
Hunter
though.
Henry didn't do dick last year.
He was better last year than anybody else on that team.
Okay,
Okay.
actually, we talked about this once already. You know how many receiving yards and touchdowns Hunter Henry had last year?
I don't remember.
401.
Okay.
Okay.
These are
One
guys
touchdown?
that could
One
all
touchdown.
benefit from not shit or get off the pot. You're Mac Jones. We've talked about it. These are all guys that could benefit from maybe not having Mac Jones throw it.
Actually,
Well, it's not easy when you're trying to be a quarterback when the absolute biggest shit bag is the offensive coordinator.
can I ask you a question?
Yes,
here?
go ahead.
All right, we're going to take a healthy Robert Woods. Let's say Robert Woods is healthy. Would
Yeah.
you take Robert Woods over Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yes.
Yes.
Tyquan Thornton?
Yes.
Yes.
Kendrick
Well,
Bourne?
here, let's regress. Let's go back. Tyquan Thornton has a lot of potential.
Would you take John Mechie over Tyquan
He was a
Thornton?
rookie last year. I mean,
Would you take John Mechie over Tyquan Thornton?
I haven't seen Mechie play.
Okay. Kendrick Bourne or Robert Woods?
This is a tough one for me.
Robert Woods, if he's healthy.
The ghost of Devontae Parker or Robert Woods?
Yeah, if this was 4 years
Well,
ago,
I
Devontae
mean-
Parker's a top 5 receiver.
Devontae Parker, you used to draft him every year for like a
and
5-year
then
stretch.
he became Randall Cobb. All right. Now, would you take Dalton Schultz over Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki?
I don't know about that.
I would take
I'm a
him over-
Gesicki guy. I like
Listen to me.
Gesicki.
Hunter Henry it was one of the worst signings the Patriots have made in recent years.
Okay.
I to answer your question, I would take Dalton Schultz over.
Correct. Gesicki, he was great in Miami.
I like Gesicki.
Guess what? It ain't gonna happen here.
Okay.
It's just not.
They're going to take a wide receiver 1 early next year.
Agreed.
And there's some good pass catchers in the draft next year. They're going to get one of them, and it's going to watch out for that Texans offense in like a year.
Now,
If they're not shooting into Caleb Williams
hold on.
sweepstakes.
Well, they just got their quarterback. They just got Stroud.
Just like we said with Houston,
I'm talking about New England.
Oh, that page.
if you take this New England receiving core
Okay.
and you implant DeAndre Hopkins, and now Schuster's your 2, Thornton
Correct.
and Kendrick Bourne are your 3, and Devontae Parker is still a ghost.
And then
Now
you
we're
got
talking
2
about something
decent
different.
tight ends.
I think
Correct.
the Patriots and the Titans, which I think we'll get to. The Titans are even worse. You haven't even.
I
touched
think the Titans
Yeah.
are worse than
I don't
the
even know
Patriots.
these names. I know a little bit about personnel. I don't know any of these fucking pass catchers in Tennessee.
All right, let's say 31. They have Carolina. I disagree with this.
I think we all disagree with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
you've got Thielen, you've got Hurst, you've got Terrence Marshall, DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. They signed Hayden Hurst at tight end.
They're going to need another tight end at some point to
Correct.
pair with Hayden Hurst. And then, oh, man, Hopkins would look so good here.
He would.
And if they figure that out next year, if they get that true wide receiver one that could recover for these old guys, could be a good thing. I think this pass catching core is better than the Titans, better than the Patriots, and probably better than the Cardinals. But
I can't disagree with you there. I think Carolina's probably 4 or 5 spots too low. Tennessee at 30.
He just brought up something very valid.
What?
The Cardinals.
they're in the low tier.
We're getting there.
They're in the low tier.
We're getting there. Tennessee at 30. Their highest graded receiver last year was tight end Chicago Zium
The kid from Cincinnati. they got.
Akawano. Yeah.
Kid from Cincinnati.
The next closest was Treylon Burks, who was hurt.
Yeah, he went down at the end of the year and it did not look good.
Then there's Kyle Phillips,
Okay.
that Nick Westbrook Ikini guy.
Yeah, well.
Stop. This is last.
This
It's
is,
just-
you know
This is
what?
la- This is they belong in the doggy tier, and they're in the dog
Those
shit.
guys are on the practice squad.
You
That's
know
it.
you know how I feel about how bad New England's wide receivers are and how much they let me down.
I think
This
Tennessee's is worse.
You're right.
And this is a team, I completely just forgot about this, that made a pretty good pitch to DeAndre Hopkins. This is the only team I don't think, I mean, of course he's going to make the guys better if he shows up there, but this is the only team I think that just doesn't make sense for him.
no, because DeAndre Hopkins would be cute, but it doesn't make them any better.
No.
I mean, is Treylon Burks a solid number 2? I don't think so.
Maybe if he had
That's a-
Hopkins opposite him,
That's
I
a
think that
big
would help him
fucking
immensely because I think he'll have more opportunity.
That's a big maybe. They don't have enough. They don't have enough.
They didn't outside Treylon Burks, they didn't have anybody to stretch the field.
Listen, Bruce
When
would
they-
probably go there and play wide receiver for the fucking
probably.
Titans right now. It's that bad.
And he's high too.
Played better.
At 29, like we said, is New England, and I think we
Bottom two.
bottom 2. I agree. I would say right now for me, it's Tennessee, New England.
Yeah.
They're in petrified dog shit.
In Arizona,
We're going to talk about Arizona's
That's
at 28.
number 3. I think it's slightly better than the other two
Okay.
because of Rondale Moore hasn't been utilized well at
No.
all. Would love to see him in a new system. What were you going to say?
This, for me, there's a gap between
The
Tennessee,
AJ
New
Green
England,
retired.
Yeah.
and everybody else.
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown, as a 1, I don't love it.
No.
As a 2, I don't mind it. Rondale Moore is your 3. Don't mind it. Greg Dortch is Greg Dortch. I don't hate it. Zach Ertz is hurt from now till Kingdom Come. Like,
He was effective last
he
year,
was
though, when
very
he played.
effective.
He had a
When
really
he-
good
when he played.
comeback year.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this. There's a little bit of potential.
Listen, they don't have Kyler Murray, so you can basically write them off.
But they have Colt McCoy and David Blow.
Oh,
so.
Jesus Christ.
God
David
damn.
Blow.
At 27, this one kind of surprised me a little bit, but
Go ahead.
not really. The Green Bay Packers.
They're getting the benefit off of how these guys performed last year. We've said it a million times. We don't know what we got in Jordan Love. I personally think he's going to be decent. And that's where it's contingent upon Jordan Love being good. I'll say this much. Watson and Dobbs didn't perform well in the same game ever.
No,
They never
did not.
One
Dobbs
was either
did damage
hurt
at the
or
beginning
one
of the
was
year.
dropping balls.
Watson was drafted higher. I think Watson was a 2nd rounder, and Dobbs was like a 4th or 5th or 6th rounder. Dobbs was really good at the beginning of the year. I know because I picked him up and you didn't do shit afterwards.
Yep.
And Watson was good at the end of the year. So I'd like to see what they could do together. We're giving a lot of benefit to them based on the inconsistent performances and the potential. I think they could easily be lower than a lot of the teams that are behind them on this list. That's my opinion. But they added Jaden Reed from Michigan State, who I love, who's an
nice
outstanding
pickup.
player. They added Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft, two of the best pass-catching tight ends in the draft. We're giving a lot of benefit to a lot of things that we haven't seen in Green Bay. Could be good. Putting them in the dog shit tier, though, in the meantime.
They're petrified dog shit. You want me to be honest? I look at the depth chart for this next team, and
It's bad.
They might be in the New England, Tennessee category. That's the Indianapolis Colts.
I agree.
It's Michael Pittman, who's eternally hurt. Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Isaiah McKenzie, Ashton Doolin, Rashad Perriman.
You're going to see a lot
Ouch.
of Richardson,
Ouch.
and you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor there. this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Ouch.
my
They're
God.
gonna look like a Big Ten team, and it fitting because they're in the capital of Big Ten country. Even though I disagree, I think it's Detroit. They're in the capital of Big Ten country, and they're going to be running the shit out of the ball, whether it's with their running backs or their quarterbacks. They're a year away in this regard.
This is gross.
This would be, you haven't heard about Hopkins there, but that would be a great spot.
Oh
for
my
him.
God! Honestly, him and Pittman is a 1-2
Yeah,
punch.
and Alec Pierce was outstanding last year.
Yes,
he was
that would help
very
Pittman
good.
big time.
But can Alec Pierce take the step to the next level? I don't think so. I think Pittman's going to get more reps, and Pittman's good. He's one of the more under-heralded
When he's
wide
healthy.
receivers from Ohio State because they've done a lot. Wide receivers from Ohio State have done a lot of damage over the last 10 years. He's one of the less heralded ones, and I think he could be very good there.
The next team, I think we're at 25. 25. I was surprised to see this team this high. I'm just gonna come straight out and say that. That is the New York Giants, who is another one of these teams where I didn't even know who was left last year. I didn't know who was left. They got rid of Kadarius Toney, and then it was like the Robinson guy got hurt. Sterling Shepard I think he was fucking dead all year. Now they have a wide receiver room that is Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, Jalen Hyatt, an injured Wendell Robinson, and injured Sterling Shepard.
They
Jalen
still,
Hyatt is a monster.
yeah. He honestly, I was just gonna say that.
And they added Darren Waller.
That's the so I think Waller is the X factor for
Yeah,
these guys.
I
I
agree
think he's supposed to unlock everyone else. He didn't do that in Oakland or
No,
in Vegas
he
too.
did not.
He didn't do that. He didn't make the receiving core better for Derek Carr, in my opinion. The best guy on this list, Uncle Sam nailed it. I think it's Jalen Hyatt. He's got the biggest explosive, big play potential. The only thing I'll say about the Giants is they still haven't replaced Odell.
The Hodges kid was consistent last year at the end of the
Consistent.
year.
But Darius Slayton's your number one. It's not
Yeah.
Hodges. And Darius
Yeah.
Slayton's your number one. And I don't think he's that good.
No,
He's
No.
at a minimum, he's got big games. He's really inconsistent. So
I'm
this
sure
is in that bottom
Hyatt's
tier.
going to be
this is petrified dog shit.
Bottom 5 or 6.
Hyatt's going to be at least a number 2 by the time the season comes along.
I agree.
By the time camp's over, he should
be.
be a number 2, if not a 1.
Could be.
Moving up the list, 24, the Atlanta Falcons.
This one's interesting.
This one is really interesting because I'm kind of torn on whether or not they should be here. But then I look at it and it's like,
So remember, this is receiving cores. This is guys that catch passes, and that's
Correct.
where Uncle Sam's boy comes in.
yes, Cordero Patterson is still.
Cordero Patterson, Bijan
But
Robinson.
he's not a receiver.
No. I mean, they play him as a running back, but
Right.
same with
No,
Bijan.
you're
Same
right.
with Bijan. But these guys are going to line up
Bijan's
all over
gonna
the
catch
place.
some passes too.
These guys are going to line up all over the place,
Yep.
and for that reason, they're interesting. If you can revive Kyle Pitts,
Oh God,
I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think
when,
so either.
When you don't have a
He's
true quarterback.
quicksand. Watching him is like watching somebody running quicksand.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
fucking awful.
I didn't even know this. They made the biggest wide receiver move of the offseason. They signed Scotty Miller.
Oh God.
God damn it.
Maybe he can get fucking what's his name out
And
of
you
the
want to know what?
quicksand.
He's third on the depth chart. Drake London, Mac Hollins, which I didn't know that either. Scotty Miller, Darrell Hodge, Frank Darby, Penny Hart.
I mean, I like Drake London. I'll tell you that much. He
Yeah, I
was
do too.
great.
I do too.
He's going to be really good for them. He was good for them in a couple games last year. They need a quarterback, though.
You know what? I'm kind of starting to.
You're not
buy-
on a Desmond Ritter bandwagon.
You know what?
The talk is Desmond Ritter's going to. I mean, we've heard this before, and
I might be hopping on the Desmond Ritter bandwagon.
I know you're high on the Falcons.
I am.
Okay.
This-
I just don't think they'll be able to beat New Orleans.
Them being
and
this high-
Carolina.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Them being this high is two reasons. What
Okay.
you said, Bijan and Cordero, and a prayer that Kyle Pitts and Johnny Smith could carry them at tight end.
Hopefully Kyle Pitts just drowns in the quicksand.
Uncle Sam what was he, your second round pick last
Oh,
year?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
No.
Third?
Like fourth round.
No,
pick.
I think it was third.
I think fourth.
We'll check that.
In fairness to
I wanted
you,
to shoot
that was the
myself
case
at
for a
the
lot
end
of
of it.
people.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's review here for a second. 24 was Atlanta, 25 was the Giants, 26 was the Colts. All of those of which we could put in petrified dog shit. Green Bay, maybe.
Okay.
Arizona, dog shit. New England, dog shit. Tennessee, dog shit. Carolina, borderline dog shit.
Okay.
At 23 is the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I mean, I personally think this is one of the top 10 or
That's
15
kinda
pass
low,
catching groups
no?
in the league.
I was absolutely
Well,
blown away
you know what?
by
If you
this.
look at it this way, I kind of get it. You have tight ends that are unproven here. I mean,
I have a really hard time
You know what I
fucking
mean?
eating this.
Listen,
outside St. Brown, what do you have?
Jamison Williams.
It's still, but it's still up in the air. We haven't seen this guy. He
fair.
played 2 fucking plays last year.
fair on Sam Laporta if you want to play that card as well.
Yeah.
I disagree just based on the production, the broad production of the pass game last year. They had one of the best passing attacks in the league last year. With it was Jared Goff's arguably his most efficient season. Did he finish top? Was he top 5 or 6 in yards? I think he was.
Sixth.
I disagree, and I want to take this time to talk about Sam Laporta. By the way, George Kittle. He was on Pardon My Take, which shout out to Pardon My Take. I know we're not allowed to talk Barstool on here, but
That's okay.
he was on Pardon My Take last week, and so was
I've
Kelsey.
seen it.
And there was a camp that Kittle hosts, and Kittle was gassing up Laporta because they're both Iowa tight ends. And Kittle said that the Lions got one of the steals of the draft in Laporta, and thinks he personally went out of his way to thank him and say this kid's going to be really, really good, and he's going to be that next generation of Iowa tight ends. And on top of that, anyone the Lions threw at tight end last year was productive and made a big play. Shane Zylstra, who might not make the team. Mitchell, who was outstanding and made big plays. And on top of that, Brock Wright. So just there, I think they have one of the best tight end rooms
Brock
in the
Wright
league.
had the biggest play of the year last year for
play.
them.
Huge play. So they have one of the best tight end rooms, in my opinion. That's without seeing Laporta. If you add
Right.
Laporta, they have a good pass catching running back that adds to the core. If we're going to talk about Bijan, we're totally allowed to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs. And then, in my opinion, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 7 receiver in the league. He's so efficient. He catches everything. His stats, he backed up his stats his rookie year. He backed them up last year. And then everything else is just a bonus. Like, we know Josh Reynolds is decent. Khalif Raymond, I got to pull up this chart from
He was
yesterday.
a little underrated last year.
More
he was
than
making
underrated.
Big play after big play last year.
More than underrated. I'm going to pull up a chart for you guys right now on Khalif Raymond, just to throw in with everything else. Khalif Raymond, there was this chart for 2020 wide receivers separation in man and in zone. He was literally the best receiver in getting separation in man coverage and in zone coverage. You could do a lot of damage.
One thing I
this
wanna
is the
ask.
chart. This is the chart,
What,
and that's
what
Khalif
was
Raymond.
his average yards per catch? It had
it's
to.
crazy.
He had to lead the team in it.
It's crazy, and his yards after catch is also great.
Yeah.
His yards after
I
separation.
didn't think he would have as
is
much as
also
St.
great.
Brown, but I mean, it
He
seemed
doesn't
like
get as
to
many
me
reps.
every deep ball last year
It
was
goes to
going to him.
Khalif, and the year before too,
Yeah.
and the year before. It's all the deep balls. He just doesn't get as many reps, so the efficiency
Correct.
is more prevalent. But he's a great pass catcher. I want to play the game going forward. They're at 23 on this list. I want to play the game going
Who's better?
forward. Who's better? Because I think their pass catchers are better than a lot of these.
For
pass
the
catchers.
record, Khalif Raymond last year, 47 receptions, 616 yards. That is 13.1 yards per reception.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good for years here, and he can return kicks and punts.
Correct.
So I think it's a very underrated core. Even without Jamison Williams, even if Jamison Williams lives up to being a turd, you just remember that they won a lot of games without Jamison Williams on the field last
Right.
year, and they had a pretty efficient offense without him on the field. If he is good, and he's first round good, and he lives up to the hype that we're building around him, they're not just a top 10 pass catching core in this league; they're a top 5 pass catching core in this league. If Jameson Williams is good, remains to be seen on if Jameson Williams is good though.
Yeah. Like I said, though, they're ranked 25th, 24th,
23rd. We're playing the
23rd.
game going
They're
forward.
ranked 23rd because we haven't seen enough of these other guys to make a valid call on it.
Well, number 22. This one will be the first one that we get to try and fight about here, and I think this one will cause a fight. Cleveland Browns. So we got Amari Cooper. We have Elijah Moore. We have, obviously, out of the backfield, Nick Chubb, Donovan Peoples-Jones. They added Marquise Goodwin as their 5th wide receiver now.
Oh,
David Njoku as their tight end.
he's nice.
Just stop. Lions are better than us.
Jakeem Grant
think so?
sitting there,
Yeah,
too. Jakeem
I
Grant.
do because if you're comparing number 1 receivers, I think number 1 here is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's better than Amari Cooper right now. I'm taking Amon-Ra St. Brown today over Amari Cooper. You're going to give the body of work, which is fair. And I don't mean to alienate you. I hope we could still be friends. But if the Lions' depth is better than this, the Lions' tight ends are better than this. Jameson
You don't
Williams.
think David Njoku is better than anybody on the Lions right now?
I don't
David
think.
Njoku's too injury. He's injury prone. I am officially ready to put that tag on him.
I think if we talk
years
in
in a row now.
January, Sam Laporta's numbers are going to be double what David Njoku does this year.
Double?
That's
Double.
a hot take
That's
right there.
bold.
That's
Bruce.
a hot take, and
That's a
like I
bold
said,
prediction.
that's in
That's
a
bold.
loaded. Like Sam Laporta is just one of at least 3 pieces in the Lions' tight end room,
Okay.
and that's with a crowded tight end room. I think Sam Laporta's numbers are going to be significantly better than David Njoku's this year.
Okay.
And I think all time, Amari Cooper is one of my favorite receivers, arguably the best receiver to come out of Alabama during this era of receivers because they all end up going to jail or getting DUIs or whatever. But right now, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is the most underrated receiver in the league, and he's a top 7 receiver, and I'm taking him over Amari Cooper.
I'm going to agree with you that at this point, I would say he's better than Amari Cooper.
Do you like Elijah?
he's young.
Do you like Elijah more than?
Here's the problem.
What Jameson Williams
I don't
could
think
be.
Elijah Moore got a fair shot at being a number 1 receiver in New York. I really don't.
A lot of things
I don't
just
think
didn't
he had
work
much
out.
throwing to him. It's been kind of a shit show for him. And I think he's a
agree with
better
that.
receiver than people think.
I agree with that. So, do you like the Browns pass catchers more than the Lions?
From top to bottom, yes.
Wow.
That's fair. That's what this list is, top to bottom.
From top to bottom, yes.
Okay. Moving on.
Peoples-Jones, very highly touted in college.
What great fringe wide
Yeah.
receiver too.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
But I'm still not taking him over 3.
I would
Lions
take him over
receivers.
Josh Reynolds. I would
That's
take him
about it.
over him.
That's
I
about
would
it.
take him over the guy we got from Jacksonville.
He's gone. Shark.
No, not Shark. The other one.
Oh, Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones. I would
We
take
didn't
him
even
over
talk
Marvin
about,
Jones.
by the way. We literally
would
didn't
take
even
him
talk
over
about
Marvin
Marvin
Jones,
Jones,
Skipped on Marvin Jones.
who's excellent.
I think we're going to talk about him now because one spot above, up at 21, is the New Orleans Saints.
Still the Lions for me.
This one for me is interesting. You got Kamara and Jamal Williams out of the backfield.
It's interesting for the
I
same reason.
like Jarvis Landry.
It comes down
Jarvis Landry's not there
to he's
anymore.
a
Oh,
free
he's
agent.
gone?
It comes down to
Olave?
one guy.
Olave.
No, the one in front
Michael
of him.
Thomas.
Michael
Thomas.
Thomas.
Ah. The depth chart has Olave as 1 now.
I
Michael
mean,
Thomas is 2.
Michael Thomas is a pretty elite receiver when he plays.
I will say,
Correct.
outside of Olave and Michael Thomas,
They're a nice
nobody on-
1-2 punch.
That's a great 1-2 punch, but they have nobody. Rashid Shaheed,
Who? Assalamu alaikum.
Traquan Smith,
Who? Traquan Smith is still there?
yeah, A.T. Perry,
No.
James Washington.
They don't have, okay, Kamara, who I think is in the decline. So they have one
Correct.
pass catching running back. I'm taking Jameer Gibbs over Kamara.
Agree.
I won't argue if anyone else doesn't do that, by the way. Who do they have at tight end? It's the guy that had cancer that's coming back
It's
this year.
Jawan Johnson and Foster Moreau.
Foster Moreau.
And Taysom Hill. Don't forget about that.
I'm
Don't
for
forget
sure,
about Taysom Hill.
I think with Michael Thomas, I'm still taking the Lions, but they have a very good 1-2 punch at receiver. if Michael Thomas returns to what he was. That's a huge contingency.
Yeah,
We haven't seen
correct.
Michael Thomas in 2 years. That was 2 years ago when he was the best pass catcher in the league.
Correct.
For me, what separates this is the depth. They have no depth. They
no
have
doubt.
absolutely no depth. And at some point in the year, when Michael Thomas gets turf toe and is out for 12 weeks, it is going to be important to have that depth for them, and they don't have it.
I'm scrolling up on this list, and I can't wait to go over this. But it's criminal that the Lions were just this low on the list. I just want to throw that out there.
I
real quick.
agree. I think that both of these teams, the last two that we've talked about, it's not necessarily awful that they're below them, but it's not good either. Moving up to number 20 is the New York Jets.
Taking the Lions over the New York Jets.
This is three hard ones for Uncle Sam in a row here.
Uncle Sam's kind of shaking his head too. By the way, he's face palming.
But
Is
there's
it because
some-
it's close or because you disagree?
I didn't say anything.
Garrett Wilson,
It's body
Alan
language.
Lazard, McCole Hardman, Corey Davis, the Ghost, Denzel Mims. You want to throw him in there? Tight ends Tyler Conklin and CJ Azama. Running backs Brees Hall and Michael Carter.
Other than Garrett Wilson, you just named a lot of wide receiver 3 or 4.
I love Garrett Wilson. I love Brees Hall.
You can make,
And
you
I
can
think
make
that's
the case.
all you're gonna need.
Hot take here. You can make the case that Garrett Wilson will, at the very least, finish as a top 10 receiver in the league this
Agreed.
year.
Correct.
Without question.
I think so.
I don't care. The Lions receiving core is better than this.
Agreed. The one X factor. I love their tight ends.
I
Tyler
do too.
Conklin.
I
he-
love
He
Conklin.
dropped off.
too.
He's from here, by the way. Shout out to Tyler Conklin. He dropped off in the second half of the year, but Tyler Conklin is a very good pass catching tight end.
Agree
When
with
you
that.
got Zach Wilson banging his mom's friend and doesn't even know where the fuck he's at, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn toward the end of last year.
So are you? Him and I are taking the Lions over the Jets. Are you taking the Lions receiving core over the Jets or no?
No,
Fair.
Okay, but why?
I think the Jets are
No,
better.
you got to give me a why.
Because he's gangrene.
I
He
just
doesn't
told
have
you
to tell
fucking
you
Aaron
why.
I don't give a
Rodgers.
fuck about
Aaron
That's-
fucking
Aaron
Rodgers.
Rodgers isn't playing. Is it not?
Is that the same Aaron Rodgers?
doesn't matter.
Is it the
Aaron
same Aaron
Rodgers
Rodgers
throwing the
that's
ball.
the
Aaron
son of
Rodgers-
Kirby Joseph? Is it the same Aaron Rodgers we're talking about?
If Aaron Rodgers locks himself in a cave for the season, smokes ayahuasca, and it's Zach Wilson, whose receiving core is better? The Lions and the Jets.
Lions.
One of the reasons I
Not
think
Aaron
the Aaron
Rodgers,
Rodgers experiment
No,
isn't going to go that
I
great.
think that the Jets' potential is there to be better.
it's fair.
I like Hardman.
I don't.
If
I
we're going
really
by
like
potential,
Hardman.
I
He's that
still
guy
think
that
the
can
Lions
stretch
have
the field.
anybody beat.
You know what?
What?
You are so full of grade
Okay,
A dog
whatever.
shit right now.
Whatever. I'm
you
not gonna
like McCole
sit here and
Hardman?
listen to you.
If he was in a fucking Chiefs
Corey
uniform-
Davis.
Oh,
He's that big body receiver that Aaron
shut the
Rodgers
fuck-
loves.
Now I know he's full of shit. Yeah, and I'm sure.
And you know what? You didn't even talk about
Randall
Randall Cobb.
Go ahead.
yes,
Tell me.
the ghost of Randall
When
Cobb.
the Jets traded for Alan Lazard, what did you say in front of that microphone?
What?
For what? He's worthless. He's
No, I didn't say he was worthless.
Yes,
I
you
don't.
did.
I think Alan Lazard is a really nice number 3.
But he's not a number 3. He's a
should
number
be.
2.
A number,
he's that
a number
too?
3 where I come from is a shit and a piss. And
Well,
if
who's
that's the
three
case, I
on the
agree
list?
with you.
I'd take Marvin
Who's
Jones
three
over
on the
Alan
list?
Lazard.
I would too. 100% I would.
I would take Marvin Jones
Who's
over
3
Alan
on the list for the Jets?
The Jets number
Probably Corey
3
Davis maybe or
is
Hardman.
Hardman.
Yeah.
I would take Hardman over Josh Reynolds,
But they're not.
and
no.
I would take Hardman
Fair, but
over.
that's
You're
but
Josh
Marvin
Reynolds.
Jones is number 3 if things are healthy
Correct.
here.
I would take Marvin Jones over Hardman. I would take Josh Reynolds over Corey. You wanted me to be honest?
Are you going to tell me that
I would take a fucking tree stump over Corey
do you
Davis.
think Garrett Wilson will be better than St. Brown?
No, I
No,
think they're going
I
to finish
don't.
very
Okay.
close. to
No,
each other.
I think Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't beat. And the Lions are banking on Jamison Williams being better than every one of these guys that we've named except
Correct.
for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And
But we don't know.
I
We
would
don't know.
take
We
James.
We don't know.
I would take
We
the
don't.
potential.
Got to wait till week 7, bud.
I would take the potential of Jamison Williams over the best of Alan Lazard we've seen 10 times over and twice.
I would never do that because I would take the ghost of Randall Cobb over all these guys.
At 19, Washington Commanders.
Taking the Lions over the Commanders receiving core.
This one's tough for me. This one's really tough for me. I love McLaurin. I love Jahan Dotson. I've always had a hard on for Curtis Samuel, and I don't know why. Their tight ends are dog shit. I wipe them out. I'm still going to take the Lions.
Who is their tight ends?
Logan Thomas and John Bates.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Former Lion Logan Thomas. I'll say this much: I love
I
Terry
can't believe
McLaurin.
they're that high.
I would love to
can't
see
either.
Terry McLaurin on a different team
So
at this
would I.
point because he's one of my favorite receivers in the league. Scary Terry, shout out Scary Terry. I'm not taking Terry McLaurin even at his best over Amon-Ra St. Brown. And for that reason, again, because I think the Lions beat almost every team on like the back end depth at receiver.
Correct. Agree.
And for that reason, if we're just going by number ones alone, I'm taking the Lions, and if we're going by depth here, I'm taking the
I'm
Lions.
taking the
on
Lions
this.
both ways on this.
Yeah.
Yep. Next, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we have Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Allen Robinson, Calvin Austin III,
Who? Go ahead.
and that white dude that used to play in New England, Gunnar Olszewski or whatever the fuck his name is.
Olszewski?
Yeah, Miles Boykin behind him.
Freiermuth.
Tight ends, Freiermuth, Darnell Washington. Running backs,
Oh,
Harris and
I
Jalen.
love
We
Darnell
all
Washington.
love Darnell Washington.
My God, that guy is a fucking beast.
Still taking the Lions here.
I
don't
would
think
take the
Deont-
Lions too.
I
I
don't
would
think
take the Lions too,
Deontay
as
Johnson touches Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Agree.
George, and on top of that, none of their receivers put it together in the same game last year. I also think they have issues at quarterback. I don't really like where they're going in that regard. We have the Steelers quarterback debate, right?
Yes, we did. What debate though? We've talked
where
about
where we think
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett's going to finish later in the year.
Yes, we said that Kenny Pickett had top 15 potential.
Yeah.
Correct.
I don't like who's throwing to them as much. I think he's going to have a better year than last year, and he's going to improve. But this guy isn't Roethlisberger.
Agreed.
This is going to come down to: are there going to be games where Deontay Johnson and George Pickens put it together in the same game? That's what
something
it'll
they
be.
haven't done.
Still not taking them over the Lions. I think this is a very underrated receiving core, and it could be really the potential's high, especially when you throw in Darnell Washington and if Allen Robinson can rebound.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I think Washington is gonna surprise a lot of people. I think he's better.
He's
better
good.
than where he was drafted.
He's good.
I think he was a top. I thought he personally that he was a top 5 tight end, and he was not drafted at top 5. I was surprised by that.
Listen, they signed Allen Robinson. That's all. That's it.
Okay,
If you do that, you deserve nothing.
that's it.
You deserve 100
Allen
years
Robinson,
of
you
respect.
deserve to be kicked right in the bag to sign him.
I agree
Go ahead.
with that.
I think the
wholeheartedly.
Lions have this next team beat too.
At 17 is the Denver Broncos. This is the hardest one for me so far, and I think I would take Denver here. The problem is I fell in love with the Denver receiving core a long time ago and what it could be. And we've never seen it all happen at once.
Because they're always hurt.
Correct. Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick. I love all those guys. I love KJ Hamler. They threw Marquez Callaway down in the bottom there. Greg Dolch and the guy whose nobody's name we can pronounce, Albert Okiwigubana.
He's supposed to have a monster year.
Yes, I mean,
He was supposed to have a monster year last
if
year.
they can
No, he
put
came
all
on at
this-
the end.
If they can put this together, which they have not been able to do since
Right.
they've all ended up there, it could be incredible.
I'm still taking the Lions, but that being said, they've never same drill. They've never there's guys that have had so much potential that haven't done it here, from Jerry Jeudy to KJ Hamler. Cortland Sutton's one of the better wide receivers we've named, and he's been very good. Still taking Amon-Ra St. Brown over Cortland Sutton, and I think that if I personally, a lot of people are high on Denver, think they're going to be improved, think Russ is going to be better, think Sean Payton's going to be a factor.
I don't.
Sean
I don't.
Payton's going to be a big improvement of what they had.
Maybe I disagree with it.
Really?
It could happen. I don't think Russ is going to be that good. I think Cortland Sutton, who is the subject of a lot of trade rumors this offseason, could end up getting traded out of this offense. Next team, I don't think the Lions have a better receiving core.
I agree. Next is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 16. Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Jamal Agnew, whoever Parker Washington is, Tim Jones at tight end, Evan Engram, which is really all you need. Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby and JaMychal Hasty at running back.
Bigsby and ETN both catch passes.
Yes. Evan Engram last year was one of the
Outstanding.
best tight ends in football. And I mean, the way that offense looked last year, the way Zay Jones came on last year from the dead, Christian Kirk, I know I talked a lot of shit when they signed him to all that money.
Everyone did.
He looks so good. Now you're throwing a
Ridley.
perfectly healthy and determined Calvin Ridley into this mix. In my opinion, I think they could finish as a top 5 offense in the NFL this year.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is way
we've all been
too
in agreement on Jacksonville. I
agree.
think Trevor Lawrence is an MVP candidate. I love these pass catchers.
Love it. Love it. I think 16's pretty low for them.
Agreed.
Next up, and I'm sorry, I get it. They signed Odell Beckham. I don't know how they are this high because last year they had nothing. And I mean fucking nothing. And at 15 is the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe I'm just low on these guys for no reason. I get it. You added Odell and Zay Flowers. Without those two, this is in my opinion, if you take their 2 offseason additions out, they are 32.
Yeah.
They are 32.
I'm with you. I still take the Ravens over the Lions. In terms of depth, I think their 1, 2, 3 is as good as anybody, and then they have a top
Listen, Mark
3 pass
Andrews
catching
is
tight ends.
elite.
Mark Andrews is elite, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're high on the other tight end too.
Likely
Isaiah
had a
Likely.
good little year last year.
They're high on him.
Yeah.
Could be pretty good. And then their running backs have always caught passes.
Correct. They all 3 of them, Dobbins, Edwards, and Justice Hill when he plays, they're all pretty
They
dynamic
get
on the
factored in.
backfield.
This is a top 10 group to me. I think 15's low. I know you disagree, but I think Odell's going to have a monster year. I think Zay Flowers is good, and Mark Andrews unlocks everything that comes after. So I think I would take Baltimore over the Lions.
This is the problem I have with this. I gotta see them do it for me to believe in it, because there's been so many times where this Ravens offense is lacking so much ass. And yeah, they have the ass now, but I want to see it. Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, Zay Flowers. Agree that 3 is at their peaks.
Bateman was awful last year.
But see, Bateman didn't start the year awful last year.
No, but he got
when
hurt.
I traded him.
He
to you,
got
he
hurt.
looked really good, and then he
had
bed.
he had one good game last year.
You trade him week 4 or 5.
Yes.
Yeah. He dropped out.
Duvernay, not awful. Aguilar, okay. I don't know.
They're better than the Lions.
I think it's better than the Lions. I'll for sure.
I agree with that.
At their best, but are we
better
going
than the
to see
Lions.
them at their best?
We'll
I
see.
just don't know. You want to say question marks with Jameson Williams? What about question marks with Odell Beckham?
I agree
No,
with that.
because the last time we saw Odell Beckham, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's got the body of work to go with it. He's like it at least
If he's
exists.
if he's healthy, he's
healthy.
definitely better than
Guys
guys
come
on
back
the
from
line.
ACLs all the time, and Odell's already come back from an ACL once, and all the workout reports.
he's
have
better
been
than Marvin
outstanding.
Jones. He's better than a lot of those guys.
I agree.
I will concede.
Okay.
The next one is definitely, without question, not as good as the Detroit Lions. You guys can argue with me. It's the Los Angeles Rams.
Agreed 100%. Not as good as the Lions. Their number 1 is better.
Outside Cooper Cup.
Outside of Cooper Kupp. So their number 1 is better than anything the Lions have. We agree. That's a top 5 or 6 player at receiver. I don't think that I'm taking Amon or St. Brown over Cooper Kupp yet, because
I
we
agree.
don't know. Cooper Kupp could have a massive drop off or whatever. I don't like anything else behind him. I never liked
don't like
Van
Van
Jefferson.
Jefferson?
Okay.
I never liked Higbee. He's very inconsistent.
So running backs, we have Cam Akers and Sonny Michel. Receivers is Cup, Van Jefferson, Ben Skronik, Demarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell.
Who?
Tutu Atwell.
Watch out for him.
And then Tyler Higbee and nobody else, really.
No, I agree with. I think the Lions are better than them.
Yeah.
Here's my prediction on Cooper Kupp this year. You guys can agree, disagree. He could finish as wide receiver 1. He could finish as wide receiver 10. I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them.
Yeah, I mean lower than 10. He could finish lower than 10. He's got to be healthy, and Stafford's got to be healthy. You have two
Right.
old guys that have to be healthy.
You don't think Brett Rippon or Stenson Bennett could finish the job for
Hey,
Cooper Kupp?
hey, don't write off Stetson Bennett. He's my dark horse. He's my dark horse.
I'm
Stetson Bennett.
offended. I am offended at number 13. Offended.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Uncle, we're gonna get a what the fuck out of him right now at 13. So that's in the top half now.
Okay.
Chicago Bears.
No, Chase Claypool walked in a fashion show last week.
Yeah, with a purse.
He followed up a week later the reports of him being lackluster. He
That's
followed
nice.
up by
He's
walking.
one of those trans-testicle things. That's fine. He can do what he
Trans-testicle
wants.
things.
That's fine.
So Chicago Bears.
Good.
We have
What, I said something wrong?
Deonta Foreman is down on their depth chart as running back 1. Khalil Herbert running back 2. DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Equiminius St. Brown, Tyler Scott, and Dante Pettis, with Velus Jones Jr. chilling back there. Tight ends Cole Kmet and Robert Tonyan. I for the life
I
of
don't
me,
see how they're that high.
I can't figure it out.
Why are they
can't
that
figure it out.
high? They
I
should
mean,
be like in the
unless-
low 20s.
Unless you are putting a absolute ton of stock into DJ Moore, which I get it.
I
DJ
think
Moore's
he's the
talented.
only really good receiver they have.
He's the
this
only
year.
good
Yeah,
receiver
he's the only one. I think Cole Kmet could be good. And he came on at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He's not in the conversation of a lot of these teams we've talked about and a lot of these tight ends that we've talked about.
No.
So much hype is being placed on the
That's
Chicago
good.
Bears.
Hey, we want that.
So much is being placed on Justin Fields, and this is not the receiving core that's going to get it done
No.
with a quarterback that is the worst in the league at playing from behind.
Correct.
So bad all around.
I'm sorry, but that's just that.
That's way too high for them.
Mind blowing to me.
Okay.
Especially if you look at the team right above them, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. To me, this is the one team that depth-wise kind of makes me raise an eyebrow when you come up against the Lions.
Depth-wise, yes, I like their 1, 2, 3. I actually would take the Chargers pass catchers over the
I
Lions.
would as well.
And then we're throwing Eckler in there as well.
Correct.
Well, Eckler's a monster.
Eckler, tight ends are Gerald Everett, Donald
Now,
Parham. That
these are
doesn't
some
do
really inconsistent wide receivers in terms
Correct.
of health, but if they're
Yes.
all on the field, which is another big factor this year for Herbert, like
I
these guys
agree.
all have to be on the field, but Keenan Allen's outstanding.
Outstanding.
You ask Darius Slay, who one of the hardest receivers he's ever covered was, he'll tell you Keenan Allen. When he plays, he's great. Mike Williams is great when he plays. I love Quentin Johnson.
you do.
I think he was the second best receiver in the draft. Quentin Johnson could be great.
Who
Gerald
was
Everett
better than
is very good.
Johnson?
For me, it was probably
I thought Johnson was the best receiver in the draft.
Zay Flowers, maybe.
You think Flowers is little, though?
Yeah.
Quentin Johnson,
you know what? No,
Quentin
I take
Johnson
that back.
got the size.
For me, it was Jackson Smith and Jiba. That's number
Okay.
one.
Yeah,
for me.
true.
You thought he was the best?
Yeah, and I think
I personally
there's
think
two-
Johnson, because I saw what he did to Michigan, and he absolutely
roasted him.
pile drived him. And
You can make the case Jordan Addison was better than Johnson. I wouldn't. I'm taking Johnson over
think
Jordan Addison, but
I like Johnson's size and his physicality.
the moral of the story is I'm taking the Chargers over the Lions.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Next, 11, the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, I
can't believe they're ranked that high.
Well, no, I was going to say I'm kind of surprised to see them that low.
What do you mean?
No, I don't think their pass catchers are that great. I think
I don't
Mahomes is
either.
That great. All around, I'm taking them over the Lions. All around.
Travis Kelce.
And then Travis
the
Kelce
best.
is a top 5
Yeah.
pass catcher, let alone tight end in the league.
Correct.
But outside of him,
Outside of him, what do they have that scares anybody?
no, there's consistent guys but a lot of it's because of Mahomes. They have guys that are going to get the job done because Patrick Mahomes is passing to them and is going to find them.
Jerick McKinnon alone, what he did in the passing game last year for them, to me, numbers wise, I think Jamar Gibbs will finish better. But Jerick McKinnon tore it the fuck up.
He did, and he
Catching
kind of
balls out of the
disappeared
backfield
right at the
last
end.
year.
He disappeared right at the end of the playoffs because it was the Pacheco show.
This is another team that I don't love the number one situation, but Valdez Scantling, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, and then you don't really know anybody else, but Travis Kelce's the number one.
By the way, Travis Kelce
Say the
is
three
starting to let it
receivers
be
again?
known. You go, say the 3 receivers, and I got a Travis Kelce tidbit.
Valdez Scantling,
yeah.
Kadarius Toney,
Okay.
Sky Moore are their top 3.
What do you think of those 3 right there?
I mean, I think the Lions have a chance to be better than them, but if we're going all around and we're throwing in Jerick McKinnon and we're throwing in the tight end
Well,
core,
we're not even throwing that in.
yeah, I
Those
think the
3
Lions.
receivers are fucking
I
dog
don't think
shit.
Kadarius Toney is that. I don't think he's
don't
that
think-
good. I don't think
What?
Kadarius Toney's that good. No, I
I don't either.
I'm with
Why
you.
would the Giants let him walk?
I think this
They
is
don't give a
another
fuck about
case of Mahomes being so good that
Okay.
he can make these guys look good, and all around, I'm putting this core above the Lions of pass catchers. Lions have a chance.
Oh,
to
just
finish
because of
better.
Kelsey, period.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and they have good depth.
Yeah.
They have good depth.
At 10, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
No chance.
Wow.
No chance.
Well, you look at it this way: Mike Evans,
I'm going to get killed
God,
here, but I don't
and
mind this.
Chris God.
I could see that don't mind this, but what are they going to do this year?
Oh,
Okay,
they're going to
listen,
be awful. They're going to
Listen,
be fucking awful.
listen. Depth wise, they got a good group of pass catchers, and
agree.
I could see where you're coming from.
Outside who?
I just think personal opinion. So Godwin.
I would take
Godwin.
their top 3 over the Lions.
People
top
have
three.
always been high on Russell Gage.
I love Russell Gage. I don't know why, but I do.
Brayton Howard have gotten it done, whether it's inconsistent.
They're
but-
both gone.
Oh, they're both gone.
It's Cade Otton and Payne Durham and Co Keefe now.
Okay, I'm taking the Lions over the Bucks soundly because
I
of
agree.
tight ends.
The
I
tight
agree
end
with that.
situation is fucked. Rashad White, Chase Edmonds. I love Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Russell Gage. I really
should have
do.
just
A-
said
and
that Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback for all these teams, and then go by wide receiver core.
well, here's the thing: if you had
A good quarterback. They all had good,
Anyway,
decent fucking quarterbacks.
You're
Right.
right. I can't disagree with you here. The Lions are better than them all around,
yeah.
but I just really want to see.
I can't believe they're that high.
I disagree. This list sucks, by the way.
this list is fucking
Who
awful.
put this list together? It's a shit show.
Just by
dude.
going from the
Pro Football
Lions,
Focus.
I have 9. Lions are at 23. I have 9 teams that the Lions are better than, and the next 2 that we haven't even named, I think they're better than as well.
Okay.
The next 2 are at what are we at 9 now?
Listen, one of the next 2, because I think at number 9, we're at number 9. I think 9 is better than the Lions.
9 is the Buffalo Bills, and
Right now, they're better than the Lions.
right now they're better than the Lions. It is James Cook is their running back 1,
Whatever.
which is wild. Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Khalil Shakir, Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, actually tight ends Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. That helps them a lot.
That's one of the best.
Outside of Kincaid, to be honest with you,
Dawson Knox had it.
Dawson Knox can catch passes.
Dawson
too.
Knox can catch passes.
He can kiss
but he
passes.
fell off last
Kincaid
year.
will absolutely take his job.
I think so too.
Yeah, well, he's the pass catching tight end. He was the best pass catching tight end in the draft.
It's-
He gets yards after catch.
Right.
Great player.
This is hard for me to justify.
But if Diggs, we don't know what's going to happen with Diggs. You don't know what's going to happen.
No,
with this
he's
guy.
he's an asshole, but he's not that much of an asshole. I think he's going to play there until he realizes.
See what
Josh
happens.
Allen's a
Yeah, no, I agree.
bigger ass.
But I'm taking Diggs over any receiver on the Lions.
Agreed. Hands
And
down.
on top of that, they also have great depth, and I think their receiving core is better
Gabe
than the
Davis
Lions.
is a flash in the pan, dude.
We'll see.
We've
We'll
seen that
see.
last
A lot of it comes in big games. I know what
Seen
you're
that
saying.
last year.
Or in one game. A lot of his production will come
Correct.
in one game.
He'll have 2 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and then he'll disappear for 4 weeks.
Do number 8.
Number 8 is the Las Vegas Raiders.
Lions have a better receiving core all around than the Las Vegas Raiders.
This one's really hard. Josh Jacobs and Zamir White, and somehow Amir Abdullah is still in the league. Tight ends Austin Hooper, Michael Mayer, OJ Howard. I'm not scared of that. But wide receiver wise, I think they have some really nice depth. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfro, DeAndre Carter, Keelan Cole,
I think they're better than the Lions.
Philly Dorsett. I think they're better than the Lions too.
That's fair.
That one. Okay.
I'm sorry, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers.
If you can unlock Jacoby Myers somehow.
Yeah.
If Jacoby Myers plays the way that Jacoby Myers should, then yes.
I think Adams draws enough attention to where this guy could have
And there's a big question
a
mark.
monster year.
Big question mark on Hunter Renfro. Big question mark. He got paid last year. He went quiet and got
Yeah,
hurt.
I thought he wasn't even going to play this. That's
I mean,
last check.
listen,
I thought they were getting ready to
he
move
got
on from him.
tackled
Yeah,
in
same.
that Cardinal game, and I still remember it. It was right at the end of the game, and my man got his life blown out of him, and he wasn't the same afterwards.
he needs to come out and look strong this year. But right
Was he
now,
out for like 8 weeks with a concussion? 9 weeks?
right now, I'm gonna give the slight edge to Vegas.
Yeah.
Next is the Minnesota Vikings. And I get it. I get it 100%. You have Justin Jefferson, who is probably the best receiver in the game right now. You have Jordan Addison. Again, there's a question mark.
Potential there.
There's potential, but there's a question mark. KJ Osborne. My opinion, I like him as a number 3. Jalen Reagor,
He's garbage.
he never panned out the way that he
garbage.
should have.
That's why he's
and-
not on Philly. He's garbage.
But they do have Jalen Naylor sitting down there, who I kind of enjoy watching.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson is a tight end.
Okay.
I am taking the Vikings over the Lions reluctantly. I think this has a chance to be very bad. I like their 1-2 punch with Jefferson,
Agreed.
and I think Addison is pretty good. Personally, I think Hawkinson's. We've seen it here. He got lucky in what he did there, and I think that experiment's going to end, especially as Kirk Cousins declines, which he will. KJ Osborne's a pretty good 3. I'm same concept with the Raiders. How you give the slight edge. I'm giving the slight edge to the Vikings right now as it stands
Right.
today.
I would
the
agree with
Lions
that.
by far have more potential at wide receiver than this team.
This one kind of surprises me a little bit. At 6, it's the Dallas Cowboys.
What?
6 is the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
So running backs, we have Tony Pollard. They added Ronald Jones and Deuce Vaughn. Wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, Brendan Cooks, the ghost of Brendan Cooks, Michael Gallup, Jalen Tolbert, Simi Fuckhole, Kavonte Turpin, Jalen Brooks. I don't know. Outside of the top 3, I mean,
They
I
just
know
drafted my boy from Michigan at tight end there too.
Jake Ferguson at tight end, Peyton Hendershot, Luke Schoonmaker. I don't mind the tight end group.
I do.
You don't like that?
This is tough. I give the slight edge to Dallas because their 1-2-3 is good. Cook, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup. Is
I
good.
disagree with you here. I'd give this
Fair,
edge to the Lions.
fair, because I think that the Lions' potential, of course, is like I think the Lions could easily finish better than these 3.
I'm sorry, but for his last 3 stops, Brendan Cooks has had so much hype, been talked about. Oh, this is going to be the place he gets it going again.
He's
and
had to
he
be the
never comes.
star though at those 3 stops.
That is also true.
Here, he doesn't have to be the star, and he's not going to get as much attention, and he could still do damage. He had games where he'll catch 10 passes a game easily.
Right.
Correct. I don't want to see him take away Michael Gallup's shine because Michael Gallup looked really good at points.
In terms of Lions talk, I'm not
Michael
taking
Gallup's
any of
the
the
one who
next
makes that
5 over
offense.
the Lions. I just think the only thing I want to say is one of the teams that's in the top 5 is better than where it is. But go,
Number 5, Seattle.
no argument. It's good. Especially I'd love to see that team with a quarterback. Because Metcalf was a monster last year, and Lockett were both monsters last year without, they were making plays in spite of
This-
Geno
Lo-
Smith.
Lockett is the most underrated receiver in the league.
This right
Yeah,
here,
he could be.
This right here might be the best receiving core in football. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, DJ Dallas, DK Metcalf, Lockett,
Charbonnet can catch passes too, by
Correct.
the way.
Metcalf, Lockett, Smith and Jigba. Then I don't know who else. I mean,
Their top 3 is better than the Lions.
Their top 3 is
They have
better
the best
than pretty
top
much
3 in the
anybody's
league.
top
They have the best top 3 in the league.
Noah Fant,
I
Will
agree.
Dissly at tight end. That's not awful. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. That's a really good receiving core. That I would have to. I'd agree with them at 5. I agree with them at 5.
If they don't tear it up this year, there's a big issue.
There's
there.
a big issue.
Well, yeah, it's Geno Smith.
It's Geno Smith. It's easy to figure out. At 4, San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, you have Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell. At receiver, you have Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, and then nobody else. And at tight end, you have George Kittle.
Yeah, no argument
Oh,
there.
there's no.
Top 3, I would put them a little higher, 3 or 4. Sure.
I
3.
3. Yeah, but I don't know who you would take out of the top 3 to put them into the top.
You're not going to like who I take out of the top 3.
I know who you would
ahead.
take out of the top 3. At number 3 is Miami.
This is the best pass catching core in the league. in
I
my
agree.
opinion.
It's hard for me to argue that they are not number 1.
I'm surprised that they're 3.
Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson.
Both of their running backs catch passes.
Yep,
Right.
and they have a Shane sitting behind them. Wide receivers, Tariq Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric
Best
Wilson,
1-2 right there.
the best, hands down. Robbie Chosen,
Anyway,
Who could be
who's
a
their
great
tight ends?
could be a great
That
number 3.
Sheehan and who else?
Braxton Berrios.
Oh, changes everything.
That it changes everything.
Tight ends are Durham Smith, Tyler Croft, and Eric Salbert.
could use some work there.
Yeah.
But those guys
Well,
catch
here's
passes.
what they did. Saubert, they got from Denver,
Right.
who's actually pretty decent. And Gesicki wanted more money. They didn't want to pay him. They let him walk. But those other guys there got experience and have played. So they got the best group in the NFL. I can't believe that they're rated 3.
Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. At running back, we have DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott. Wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, Zacchaeus,
Zacharias.
and then that's pretty much it. Tight ends, Dallas Goedert, Dan Arnold, Jack Stoll.
Yeah,
They should be 3.
I think they should be 3 as well.
I have them at number 2 just because I don't have number 1 in my top 2 there. Yeah, so
Well, number 1 is real simple. It's Cincinnati.
the list agrees with you. The list is
But
number 1.
I don't agree with that. I think Miami is number 1.
I'd have Miami 1,
Correct.
Philly 2, Cincy 3.
I'm going San Francisco 3, Cincy 4.
Yeah.
So
I agree with
number 1, Cincinnati is Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then that's pretty much it. Nobody else.
I don't
notable
have
there.
stock in Irv Smith.
Irv Smith, Drew Sample as your tight end.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's weird.
You want to know what? After looking
He
at
got
this,
ran out of Minnesota. I don't know.
Are you going
I
to say their 1, 2, 3 is better than Seattle's? Because I don't think so. Still,
No, I think Seattle's better than them.
same. And I love.
And I listen, Jamar Chase is elite.
no,
yeah,
T. Higgins
yeah.
is on the doorstep of being elite.
They're good. They can't afford both of these guys though going forward. They can't have Higgins and Boyd. This is going to be the last year of the Higgins Boyd
Right.
Chase trio, which means they got to take advantage this year. And Joe Burrow said, I'm going to take less money to make sure all of my guys are signed. And I know they've shopped Higgins and Boyd. I don't know. I don't have Cincinnati number 1, but they're good.
They're not going to get anything for Boyd. He's been around too long.
All in all, I just want you guys to know that I have 11 teams that the Lions are behind. I have 11 teams that the Lions should be in front of. I think you guys are at least 9, probably.
I would
8
say
or
about
9.
9.
Yeah, I'd say no.
So that would
End up being good this year, by the way.
Yes, you
I
are.
am fucked.
you are if
I think everybody is. I
I'm
think Detroit is
fucked on the show.
I think
I'm
the
fucked
Lions
in a
are
credibility
fucked. If they
standpoint.
can
I'm
play up to
fucked
their
on the
potential.
Lions are fucked. I think we're all fucked if the Bears end up being good. We'll see though.
real quick before we end, if we go back to this list from last year, Chicago was 32. So that means DJ Moore and Chase Claypool took them from 32 to 13.
That's garbage.
From 32 to 13. And
That's
just
garbage.
for the record, add on, the Lions were ranked 2 spots higher last year at 21.
So they're telling me that the Lions receiving core, which got significantly better, you're telling me they got worse?
Correct, because they lost DJ Chark and TJ Hawkinson. But
What do you mean they got worse?
that's according to
Okay.
Pro Football
All right.
Focus, which is
All
like toilet paper. They got 2 spots worse than last year.
I don't know about that.
Anyways, do you have anything to add?
Me?
Yeah.
R.I.P. Ryan Mallett.
Yeah, that was tragic. Drowned.
Yeah.
Former Michigan man.
Ryan
former
Mallett.
Patriot.
Ryan Mallett had so much hype when he came in here, and if you look back at recruiting rankings, he's like one of the top recruits ever to commit to Michigan. It turned out that Lloyd Carr was kind of forced out, and when the Rich Rodriguez era began, they were handing out transfer slips that day, and Ryan Mallett took it. He turned into an SEC legend at Arkansas. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. Would have loved to see what he can do here, and I know you were a Patriots guy. He was a very steady backup to Tom Brady for X amount of years.
Yep.
Very sad. A lot of these people like Kobe Bryant, their postscript is what they ended up being known for. We wanted to see what the postscript would be, and Ryan Mallett was actually a really good high school football head coach at 35 years old, and he could have been something good. And it's very sad for someone that was helping kids and coaching football for him to pass, and the way he passed. R.I.P. Ryan Mallett. That's sad. That's a sad one.
R.I.P. Ryan Mallett.
That's it.
Everyone stay safe on the 4th too.
Yeah. Don't get all drunk and go on the lake.
We'll have the gambling suspensions this week, so on the next show we should be able to talk about all the gambling suspensions.
The
Gambling
4th of July. When's the 4th of July?
Tuesday.
It's on the 4th of July this year.
What's
Sorry.
that?
Thank you so much for listening to
St.
another
Hedwig.
episode.
Detroit St. Hedwig, 4th of July, baby.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure to follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, check us out on YouTube. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell. We will be doing a gigantic, bigger-than-life giveaway over the weekend. It will be out on our Instagram. We are going for 500 subscribers on YouTube before August 1st. We're going for it. Check out our Instagram. We're going to be giving away shit that you'll never think of. Thank you guys so much for listening. Shout out to President Baker for checking in. Have a great 4th of July weekend. You will hear from us next week.
Oh, God.